Good evening. Welcome to the Lompoc City Council meeting. Report of action taken in closed session.
There were 2 items on the agenda. They were both discussed, but there was no reportable action.
Okie doke. And this evening for our invocation, Chaplain Tony Durham. Tony?
Thank you. If you'd rise, please. Father God, as we gather here this evening, we ask for your wisdom and guidance as the issues of our cities are addressed. We pray for your protection over our law enforcement, our firefighters, the military, and those that are in harm's way. We pray that you will be beside their loved ones while their loved ones are fighting for our freedom. We ask for blessings on our city, our county, and our country, and its leaders. Thank you for all your things that you do for us and your presence here tonight. Amen.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Larry, can you see who's out yonder making all the noise, please? Oh, all right. Well, I guess we can invite him in. Next, we have a presentation from Recreation Manager Joanne Plummer, an update on the Healthy Eating, Active Living, Heal City campaign. Joanne?
Getting older. Good evening. Tonight we have can you turn that on, please? An update for our Healthy Eating, Active Living, Heal resolution. The City of Lompoc adopted the HEAL resolution in September of 2012. In doing so, the city committed to the elements of the resolution, including regular updates, but full compliance takes time. The largest amount of work that has been done to date is the audit of what the City of Lompoc currently has in place, what needs to be changed, and what should be eliminated and or implemented. The Recreation Division has taken the lead on providing this status report, as well as some of the goals for the coming years. During the inventory process, it was determined that the City of Lompoc has 3 recreation facilities that host events and programs to encourage an active living lifestyle. The Dick DeWeese Community and Senior Center is the home of senior programs to include community health and wellness classes, nutrition programs, and fitness workshops geared towards our senior population. In the evening, this facility is host to a variety of other classes such as martial arts, dance fitness, yoga, etc. The Anderson Recreation Center holds all of our indoor sporting activities, as well as classes related to dance, fitness, and other activities. The Lompoc Aquatic Center is host to lap swimming opportunities 7 days a week, a variety of water fitness programs such as aqua step, deep water walking, warm water leisure, etc. In addition, there are recreational swim activities, a competitive swim team, a drop-in water polo program for kids and adults, as well as swim lessons for all ages and abilities. This facility features an all-deep competition pool, a recreation pool with water slides, and an interactive play structure, as well as a therapy pool, and is open to our consumers year-round to accommodate their active lifestyles. The City of Lompoc has 9 parks, many having sporting facilities, 4 that have fitness trails, and 1 with an 18-hole disc golf course, and 1 with a skate park. Simple adjustments to existing park and recreation facilities have proven to make significant impacts. For example, adding fitness equipment alongside an existing fitness trail, or the addition of a disc golf course at Beatty Park. These type of changes encourages additional use and traffic at a particular park and provide an additional amenity for active living to one of our existing facilities. Earlier this year, the City of Lompoc joined surrounding areas and established a no smoking policy at our public parks. And although smoking has not been outlined in the HEAL resolution, the benefit to the users of the facility is a healthy one and deserves to be mentioned and or tied to this resolution update. There's a list of facilities that the City of Lompoc does not currently have that could increase physical activity amongst children and adults in our community. While the City of Lompoc does not have the funds for development of new facilities, we are taking a different approach by partnering up with other groups with a common interest. The Riverbend Bike Park is one such project. This group wanted to see a bike park in Lompoc and worked closely with city staff to determine an appropriate location on current city property. This facility is under construction right now with a volunteer-based group using city property and utilizing funding secured through a nonprofit organization. The dedication of this new facility in Lompoc will take place during the fall of 2014. In addition to this particular facility development, the City of Lompoc has been involved in the past few years in the promotion of cycling in general with the sponsorship of the Criterium Race event, the Safe Routes to School program, as well as support by various departments to the annual bike rodeo at Lompoc High School each year. In the past 5 years, the city has increased the amount of bike trails in Lompoc to provide safe and convenient access to various locations throughout the community. The City of Lompoc has a bicycle transportation plan that was made public in November of 2008, which outlines the safety justifications for improvements and installation of many of our trails, and the plan falls right in line with our goal to increase bikeability in Lompoc and our goal of active living. The multipurpose trail for walking and biking along the east side of our community has seen significant use by individuals and families. The trail installed along the south side of Allen Hancock College to allow users to access the campus without taking the risks of the traffic at the Y intersection. This path is lit at night and fenced for safety. It is also quite a workout if you're heading from Lompoc to the college and has many beautiful views. Attractive signage was installed at the site of many of the trails throughout the community, which creates a pleasant and informative invitation for use. Promotions of the different trails in Lompoc through the maps, the website, and the recreation brochure have been implemented. The Recreation Division draws awareness of our trails by hosting such events as the Turkey Trot along the Trail of River Park and the Resolution Run along the Multipurpose Trail. In addition, the Recreation Division has been promoting free activities, for example, the trails, in our recreation guide to include the distance of each trail to allow our users to calculate their accomplishments. Currently, we are looking at how to add some of our trails to a free mobile app that lists all the trails in your area. We're hoping that this would attract more people to our community and to increase the uses of some of our local trails. The Engineering Division has always worked closely with the Lompoc Valley Community Healthcare Organization, even before the adoption of HEAL, in educating and encouraging Lompoc children to walk and bike to school by providing safe walking infrastructures and crossing improvements at heavily used school routes. Since the adoption of HEAL, the following projects have been completed and/or are underway. They replaced the deteriorated timber pedestrian bridge at U Street over the San Miguelito Channel with a 10-foot wide prefabricated steel frame bridge to accommodate both pedestrian and cyclists, filled in many missing sidewalks and curb ramps at locations near schools, filled in sidewalk and curb ramps at Chestnut Avenue from O Street to G Street. This project is currently ongoing. The Lompoc Safe Routes to School program works closely with the LVCHO to implement a 4-year Safe Routes program to educate and encourage the public and promote walking and biking to school through various activities that engage parents, students, and the general public. This project is also currently ongoing. They filled in sidewalk and curb ramps near schools and installation of a bulb-out crossing improvement at Barton and A Street crosswalk, and construction for this project is scheduled for this fall. And they're filling in sidewalk and curb ramps near schools and installed bulb-outs and flash crossing beacons at various school crossing improvements. This project is currently in the design phase with construction slated for the summer of 2015. This is just some of the examples of some before and after pictures. Worksite wellness. The City of Lompoc allows all of their current employees use of the Lompoc Aquatic Center for adult lap swim at no charge to meet their fitness needs. In addition, the selected healthcare provider has a variety of wellness programs to include incentive-based rewards for activity, appointments, etc., and the Employee Assistance Program offers health and wellness tools. In addition, any meeting sponsored by the City of Lompoc, it can be as large as a citywide training or as small as a staff meeting. When there is going to be food available, 50% of those food provided must be healthy options. In 2012, immediately following the adoption of the HEAL resolution, the Human Resource Division at the city purchased pedometers to help the employees track their steps throughout the day and is currently working on the addition of walking maps and other walking programs. In addition, the city would seek out health and fitness tips to include on pay stubs for all employees as a blurb in the newsletter or a fact sheet. These tips range from physical wellness, tricks to successful dieting, and attention to mental wellness. These tips are a simple gesture and are a nice reminder for all the employees. In July of this year, the Human Resource Division applied for a $5,000 grant to assist with our wellness programs. And in August, the Human Resource Division stepped it up and began the distribution of Wellbeing, which is a monthly newsletter to be distributed each month to the employees. And I'm happy to say that today I learned that the city of Lompoc is one of the 5 cities that were awarded that $5,000 wellness grant. So congratulations to our Human Resource Division. The Lompoc Fire Department is currently implementing compliance with NFPA 1582 and the International Association of Fire Chiefs and International Association of Firefighters Wellness Initiative. That's a mouthful, but they're doing some great work there too. Access to healthy food is an important component of HEAL. The Healthy Lompoc Coalition conducted a survey in recent years and determined that while we are not a food desert, we still have significant issues related to hunger and healthy food options. The Santa Barbara Food Bank is currently hosting community workshops to determine more specific areas of Lompoc at greater risk. To access farm fresh produce, Lompoc has a local farmers market each Friday with healthy food at great prices. In addition to how our customers can access healthy food, the City of Lompoc works closely with the Community Action Commission to provide healthy meals to seniors at a reduced rate, and with the Santa Barbara County Food Bank to provide free healthy lunches to children during the summertime. The Picnic in the Park program is a federal program that provides healthy meals to children when school is not in session. This federal program took place this summer at 4 different locations here in Lompoc. Also for the seniors in our community, our recreation team members work with the Brown Bag program and the Santa Barbara County Food Bank, which sends healthy groceries home with low-income seniors twice a month. The City of Lompoc has 1 community garden currently active and maintained by volunteers. The Beautification Commission is working towards the feasibility of a second garden due to the success of the first one. And in addition to the community garden, city representatives have been resources for many of our local school gardens in our elementary schools. Coming soon to a few city facilities, the Anderson Recreation Center, the Lompoc Library, and the Bike Skills Park are water stations that will act as both a drinking fountain and a water bottle refill station, thanks to the support from the Lompoc Valley Community Healthcare Organization. These not only encourage healthy drinking options, but also encourage recycling. This will be an exciting new addition to these facilities. And lastly, the Recreation Division is currently seeking bids for all of the food and beverage vending machines in all public locations to accommodate the parameters of the HEAL resolution. Once this change is in place, the next step would be to adjust the machines that are only accessible to our employees. Where to go from here? In conducting our research with other city divisions, I was surprised at the amount of individuals who are unaware of HEAL, and more surprised at how many city employees were unaware that we have wellness programs in place. In addition, the city may have adopted the HEAL resolution, but if nobody knows what it is and why it's important, why go to the trouble? Giving some credit to those taking action, the Lompoc Unified School District is a leader, in my opinion, in our community with their wellness program. While they have federal guidelines that assist with the implementation of wellness programs at school sites, they have also taken wellness to the next level with the remodeling of school kitchens to offer salad bars, freshly prepared foods, etc. In addition, they've created policies and employee break rooms and continue to make improvements, realizing that we can always make adjustments towards a healthier environment. So I just wanted to give a little kudos to the school district. There's a few facts that for every $1 invested in wellness programs, there's an average savings of $3. That's a 3-to-1 return on investment, not to mention the reduction of healthcare costs, low absenteeism related to health issues, and a potential loss of productivity. In order to continue moving forward with HEAL, engagement, awareness, effort, and support are a key. And that's all I have for you this evening, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Councilmember Costa?
Thank you, Mary Lynn. Thank you, Ms. Palmer, for the update. I agree that sometimes compliance takes time, and so we are 2 years out from resolution passage. So thank you so much for taking on the lead for this. When you first started, it was a little noisy in here. Can you just go over what in the very beginning you had stated? I think that was some of the things that are going to be that you're looking forward to over the next year or two. Is that right? I'm sorry, I just couldn't hear you very well.
We were talking about how the first step was going through the inventory of what we have, and then the next step is to create more awareness to what the HEAL resolution is and to get more support from other individuals and make sure that all of our employees in a city entity know what we do have available for them. In fact, in doing some research, there is activity happening with the fire department. The police department is trying to get a wellness program going, working closely with our HR department. Joe Kavanaugh, our safety manager, is doing some great strides. Applying for the grant was a big one. Getting the grant was amazing. And then trying to find just that one person in the city that's going to take the bull by the horns and make sure that we are compliant and is gathering the facts for future updates.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now we have a proclamation for our retiring for the second time Police Chief Larry Ralston. Larry, would you join me? And with your darling wife. So Larry actually retired, but we didn't have his replacement, so he volunteered to come back and work, even though he now has another job. So he's been doing 2 jobs at once, so thank you for that. And everyone in the department contributed something to your proclamation. We left a couple things out. Whereas Police Chief Larry A. Ralston is being honored tonight on the occasion of his retirement and for his exemplary service from June 11th, 2007 to June 30th, 2014, and then coming back and helping us some more, with the Lompoc Police Department. And whereas Chief Ralston has been a peace officer for over 31 years, including 7 years here with the Lompoc Police Department, and the last 2 years of the chief. He holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from the Union Institute and the Institute and University, and is a graduate of the Leadership Lompoc Valley, the Post-Supervisory Leadership Institute, the 44th class of the California Post Command College, and the 243rd class of the Federal Bureau of Investigation National Academy. And whereas Chief Ralston has always conducted himself with the utmost professional and personal integrity, always concerned with doing what was best for the city and for his staff. He's a big supporter of the Employee Development Association and the Police Explorer program. And whereas Chief Ralston has diligently led the police department through many challenges the department has faced, not only with difficult and intense cases, but with economic and physical hardships of our recent economy. He has just attained his personal goal of bringing the staffing of the police department to full strength through grants and recruitment. And whereas Chief Ralston has served as a board member of the Lompoc Valley Police Activities League, the Lompoc Valley Service Extension of the Salvation Army, an advisory board member of the Lompoc Catholic Charities, Leadership Lompoc Valley, and is advisor for many years for Lompoc Explorer Post 700. He is also a member of the California Peace Officers Association, the California Tactical Officers Association, and the California Police Chiefs Association. And whereas Chief Ralston has been an asset to the police department by providing leadership, presence, and support for all police staff, he is to be commended for his dedication and commitment to always providing protection and safety to the citizens of our city, and his many years of outstanding service in the public sector. Now, therefore, I, John H. Lind, Mayor of the City of Lompoc, California, do hereby deem it an honor and a pleasure to extend this proclamation to Chief Larry A. Ralston on the occasion of his retirement celebration, with sincere thanks for a job well done and for his dedication and service to the citizens and staff of the City of Lompoc, and offer the city's congratulations and best wishes for a happy and enjoyable retirement for many years to come.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Patrick, and all the citizens of Lompoc, I want to say it's been an honor and a privilege to have worked for the city of Lompoc for the 7 years that I've been here, for the 2 years as your chief. And just to mention a couple of things, I write everything on the palm of my hand. I'm old school. Back when I was a young police officer, we didn't have computers to type in the cars and or paper. So I would write things on the hand. So first of all, to just say a few things about Lompoc, having a chance to police this community and to lead a police department in this community, we've been able, in spite of some staffing issues that we've had for the last few years, we've been able to push crime down about 12% from when I took over mid-2012. And given the challenges that we've had with the staff, keeping officers on the streets and so on, that's been something to say for the quality of the police officers that we've got that work here for the city. Secondly, along with the officers, is that the amount of training that we spend in this city to keep the quality of our officers at the optimal level. To other departments, they see our officers going off to training and wonder why we do the amount of training or put our people in the amount of training that we do. But it's because of the results, being able to see crime come down, be able to see members of our community being assisted by our police officers. We have a great rapport with the community, and it's because of the quality of the training, the quality of the officers that we have. The third that I want to mention is the people in the community. And Lompoc has, my wife and I lived here many years ago, and our kids were both born here. And we came, when I came back to work in this town, it was like coming back and putting on an old glove. It felt comfortable, it felt right, and I felt that this is where I needed to be. And that hasn't, the community hasn't let us down. It continues to show time and time again how members of our community step up and do some great things under some very extraordinary circumstances. Being able to support young men and women who have had, medical problems, or people in our community who have suffered, and we see, the barbecues around town, we see the fundraisers that go on, and we just, it's so impressive to see this little town be able to do things and support each other the way they do. One of the things, we were involved with the Relay for Life a couple of years ago, and in our community, we raised $190,000 in one period, one season for Relay for Life, and we raised more money than Santa Maria, more money than Arroyo Grande, and some other bigger communities, and we were able to do that in Lompoc. So that again goes to all of you, members of our community. And then the last, the staff, from the city council all the way through our professional staff in Lompoc. It's been fun to work with. They've all been supportive of one another. We've seen retirements, and just the staff just continues to excel, working together to resolve and find answers to problems. Very results oriented in this staff. So that's something to say for Patrick Weimiller, our city administrator. Laurel Barcelona, who was our city administrator before that, they just set the bar high, and they continue to excel. So with that, again, it's been a privilege and an honor to lead this city, lead this police department, and I'm not going very far, just going to be up the road in an education role for a while, and be able to help promote this brand new academy and help in the economic development of our city over the coming years. So thank you again for your time, and thanks for your opportunity.
The chief was commenting before the meeting that he just taught his first 2 classes of Train the Trainer, and we had people from across California come to Hancock College for training, so more good news. Okay, city administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. First of all, just to echo the sentiments that were shared by the proclamation. I just want to really reverberate how much I personally have been blessed by Chief Ralston's leadership. I can't ask more than people who are committed to ensuring the protection and safety of our community and do it with such integrity. And I don't take it for granted, but I very much appreciate the fact that you extended on, Chief, after your retirement, and were willing to help us through the interim as well and bridging the gap. I appreciate that much more. Laurel Barcelona did an incredible job in selecting a chief, and appreciate that very much. The job that I have is just so critically dependent upon the staff of all of our team members, and particularly the leadership that's there in each department, and just never felt any sort of anxiety at all in terms of our police department. It has functioned exactly as I would want them to do, and I know a lot of that has to do with how we handle things from the command level on down, and so I appreciate that very much. I'm glad you're staying locally. Hope you'll be around to receive a call now and then, and I'm just and glad that you're able to continue to help us out with public safety here in Lompoc and what you'll be doing at the training center, and that your knowledge and expertise is going to extend on to other generations of police officers. Appreciate that much. I would say, I think I've said to you privately, and I'll say to you publicly, I don't think it's right that you're younger than me and you're retiring. There's something not right about that, but I'm going to work through that. But thank you again for all of your service and for helping keep Lompoc safe. Thank you very much. My other piece, actually, I'm going to defer to the Assistant City Administrator, Teresa Gallivan, for the rest of the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Administrator. Mr. Mayor, members of council, audience, and viewers, just wanted to give you an update. As you know, in the effort to work through the process, as council directed, to remove the $700,000 lien on the theater property, the successor agency lien, so that the Lompoc Theater Project Committee can become the new owner and restore the theater. Well, the city has been working through that effort, and we have retained Mike Roos to assist with the development and implementation of a strategic plan that will result in the Department of Finance approving the reconveyance of the deed of trust of the successor agency of the theater and its adjacent parking lot. Mr. Roos is the founder and chief of Mike Roos and Company, a public affairs management company that specializes in government relations. He has considerable success in working with the Department of Finance to resolve unique matters brought about by the dissolution of RDAs. The contract with Mike Roos and Company is for a maximum of 6 months with a monthly fee of $7,500 for a maximum of $45,000. And if successful with the release of the lien on the theater, during the contract his firm will address other RDA dissolution matters for the city with the Department of Finance, including the conveyance of the parking lots in the downtown area and matters regarding the long-range property management plan. The funding for this contract will come from the economic development budget and may include other funds as appropriate. So this is our best effort to get this reconveyed and move forward in the success of that process. Thank you.
I have a question.
Councilman Costa has a question.
City Administrator, Assistant City Administrator, sorry, I'm not sure who should address the question. At what time did we identify that we needed a consultant, and is it because we just don't have the expertise in-house to take this through the Department of Finance, or is it because this is sort of a new environment with the dissolution of the RDAs? Or
it is a new environment. This is something that we've been discussing for very seriously for the last several weeks, but it is something that has been discussed when we talked about how we would go about this process at various points in those discussions. But most clearly in the last several weeks we've had more discussion on strategy and the best approach to make sure that we're ensuring the success of getting this lien removed from the property so we can make this project successful. And to answer your question, we do feel that to be successful in working with the Department of Finance at this level, this is a unique situation, and the connections that the consultant will have and the success that they've had is our best effort, because this person has tremendous experience in this area, has several connections, and has, again, proven that sort of success in working with the Department of Finance.
And so did we seek out that individual? Was there an RFP, or how did that work?
We did seek out that individual based upon their unique experience and attributes and have the ability to enter into that contract.
How did we hear about that person?
Well, actually, this person has experience with the city of Bellflower, and the city attorney's office thought that this might be a very good strategy and approach for us to take. So we did do an interview with them, and they do have several clients with unique RDA dissolution scenarios, and their connections and their success rate just stands to reason that for us to put our best effort forward in making this happen, that they will be a very good resource to us.
And what's the time frame?
2 months for the, we're looking at approximately 2 months for information on the theater, and then there would be an additional 4 months with the success of the theater for the remaining items. If there isn't success on the theater in approximately 2 months, then the contract's terminated.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, City Administrator?
No, sir, that concludes our report.
Okay, looks like we have a bunch of people here, and I think quite a few are here to talk about the swap meet. So for all of you that are standing in the back, there's chairs in the front. Don't be bashful. No one will eat you in the front chairs. Come on down. Come on. It's okay. It's not much fun to stand. You're brave. You let them. Good job. Okay, so let's just kind of divide this. Who's here to talk about something other than the swap meet? Okay, I'm going to take you guys first.
Well, good evening, Mayor, City Council, City staff. My name is Frank Campo, resident of Lompoc. I just will bring some information. My daytime job is working with the veterans. I want to let the audience know that tomorrow morning at the Vets Building here in town, Congresswoman Capps is going to be holding her third annual breakfast for veterans. It starts at 8:30. She'll have staff from her office to answer any questions. At the federal level, she'll also, Assemblyman Nakajian will also be here to answer any questions regarding state level issues. There's also going to be some representatives from community organizations as well to give information out to veterans. So that starts at 8:30 with breakfast, 9 o'clock for a roundtable discussion, and it ends at 11. So this will be the third year we've done this. We've only had about 15 to 20 veterans show up each time. And I know it's been publicized pretty well in the Lompoc records. So I'd just like to see a good turnout. I'll be there working my daytime job. But on a second note, I just want to echo the city administrator's comments on the chief. He left already as one of the public safety commissioners. I've really looked forward to working with him the last 2 years, and I'm looking forward to the new chief coming on board next couple of weeks. So thank you.
Thank you. Come on down.
Good evening, Pam Wall, local resident. I just wanted to let the community know, who doesn't already, that one thing led to another, and several of the residents in this community have wanted to get together and work together cleaning up trash around Lompoc. And this will be an ongoing thing as people go out and about and clean up different areas that they specifically have seen, as well as we have a monthly trash mob, and we have 2 members that are organizing that, and the first one will be on September 13th. There is a Facebook page, Lompoc Cleanup, that people can go to get the information, and you can click on the event and get the information about the event. I'm not sure what we're going to do about people that don't belong to Facebook. It's really hard to get information out in this community. Perhaps we'll put something in about town when those monthly events are running, or they can get with somebody that has Facebook and see what's going on. We have this little mom that goes out, and she takes her 2 adorable little kids out there, and they were pulling their little red wagon full of garbage and wanted to know where to put it. And Ken Ostini said that we could use their dumpsters that aren't used all the time for when people go out and do that, but we'll have to work more on cleaning up the garbage. And I want to stress that this is a community event created by the community because we live here and we want it to look nice for our visitors that come to town. And so in that regard, I will say there are a lot of people running for office that have joined us, and we appreciate that, and we'd like to see you help us come out and clean up the trash. But I would like to say, and I would like to request, that this not be a campaign page. There will be plenty of time for campaigning and all of that. We will be here long after this campaign is over. So if we could just keep it to the topic, which is the community working together to help clean up our town. So you're all welcome to come out and join us. Thank you.
Time and place, Pam?
Pardon me?
Time on the 13th, what time and where?
It's at 9 o'clock.
And where are you guys meeting?
Well, we're meeting at South Side. There's some things we need to check out a little bit more there to make sure there's not going to be a conflict. But right now we're planning on all meeting on South Side. Right now I think we have 47 people signed up to clean up on that day. And so if they all show up, we will be able to clean up several lots. And they go on. We're identifying lots as we see them around town that need some serious attention. And Keith Guy, that works for the city, is doing our map and putting the locations on there. So, you know, that's available as well. And it's also available on a hand. You know, they can look when they're out and about and see what areas have been designated. But anybody's welcome to clean up anywhere around town when they see trash that needs to be picked up. And it doesn't have to be an all-day job. Just any time. So thank you, and go to Lompoc Cleanup and join us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sylvia King. I'm a local resident as well. I feel the need to bring to your attention the plight of some senior Lompoc residents who seem to be falling through the cracks. I think this is a disgrace, and someone needs to take up their cause. One of the senior neighbors of one of my daughters lives in a modest home in the hills above Lompoc. They have lived, worked, and raised their family here for close to 60 years. She used to work for Moore's department store. I'm not sure what he did, but they never made a lot of money but got by. But their combined Social Security income seems to disqualify them from most of the apartments they have looked for to rent. They're in their 80s now, and they know they won't be able to drive themselves shopping and to doctor's appointments and so on for much longer. That is why they're looking to move downtown. They don't have enough money to move into senior assisted living apartments, and apparently too much combined for low-income housing. Something is very wrong with this picture when lifelong local residents get turned away from all convenient low-income housing we have built in the last years, and it needs your attention, please. They're not looking for assistance, just for a convenient place to live. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Mike? I'm pretty sure that this is your deal, so we'll start with you.
My name is Mike Ross, Mr. Mayor, Councilman, and ladies and gentlemen. I've had 2 meetings at the high school. So far, we don't know what's going to happen. So they want to take it to the school board first and check with them. And if they can get the approval on that, then things can go ahead. But as it stands right now, we don't have a place yet, but we're working on it. And like I said, I have 75 families that's depending on me, so I'm trying. And so the other thing we would ask If it is going to be the end, then we would ask that we could be here until December 31st. That's when all the health permits expire. That's for our food vendors and our vegetables. And so anyway, we are trying to find a place, but that's where we stand right now. So I appreciate the time. And then the other people would like to speak their hearts. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Any questions for Mike at this time? Okay. Hang on, Chuck, because I'm going to divide this up for a second. How many people want to speak? Raise your hand. How many people want to speak? Just trying to gauge it. Okay. Hang on a second, Chuck. How many of you can do that? We're going to divide this up first. Anybody that wants to speak in 2 minutes or less, come on first. Who's got a 2-minute speech they want to give us? Nobody's got a short one.
No, mine's going to be 5 minutes.
Darryl, come on. Oh, ladies first.
I'm Helen, Mayor and council members. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak. There's been so many people approach me and wonder why is the swamp meet closing? And I said, I don't know. Anyway, the things that I would like to bring out is that it's hurting so many people if you close the swamp meet. We've got so many people that are sending their children to school. They're trying to supplement their income. And some of them have children in colleges. It's impossible almost for a normal man to just work one job and make enough to send their children and get a good education. And this 1 day a week helps a lot of people to get this income enough to help the education for their children. And not only that, a lot of people that are there are older and trying to exist on their, they don't have any income except their Social Security. And this little bit that they make helps them keep them off the streets, keeps them off of welfare, and it helps them so much. And I just don't understand why it's going to be shut down, because it's helping the town. They get money and revenue, and we have not raised the prices of the spaces ever since I've been there. I've been there for what, 12 or 13 years, and they can't afford to pay anymore for their spaces, even though our prices have gone up. Our utilities almost tripled. Our bathrooms have tripled, and so on, you know. But also the city needs the money that it brings in from the swamp meet. It helps everybody. The swamp meet
Helen, I
does.
need you to finish up.
And I would appreciate it very much if you'd take that under consideration. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Helen. Anybody else? Darryl, you want the 2-minute deal?
I said 2 minutes, but we'll try to make that 2. Darryl Tullis, I live here in Lompoc, and I just want to say, you know, I grew up down in Oxnard, came to Lompoc about 13 years ago. My family's been here since 1981. We've had swap meets down in Oxnard. There's swap meets in Santa Maria, swap meets all over California. We have the weather for it, so there's swap meets all the time. One of the things that they say about churches in America is that it's one of the most segregated days of the week is on Sunday afternoon, because we tend to go to our churches and places where we look like each other. That swap meet is a place where it brings part of this community together. And I think it's a shame that in a community this size that we would ever consider shutting down something that brings this community together. So if for no other reason but bringing this community together other than football games. You know, we go to football games, we come together there, but we're not communicating with each other at a football game. We're simply standing there, we're being entertained, and we're cheering for a team. At that swap meet, I go there sometimes. I don't go to shop. I just go to walk around and talk to people, say hello, you know, eat some food, you know, that I grew up getting used to down in Oxnard. And so to me, to close that swap meet, you're closing part of a unifier of this community. And so what I think you need to do is find another way to either, you know, get the revenue you need from it, you know, but find another way to deal with that and keep that swap meet open.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else wants 2 minutes? All right. How about 3? Okay, we're going for 5. Who's first? Come on. Chuck, I think you're going to lead the parade.
Madam City Clerk, Mr. City Attorney, Mr. City Administrator, Mr. Mayor, and City Council members. I was asking when
You have to say your name.
Oh, I'm Charles Arnold. I live at 122 West Cypress Avenue, kitty corner across from the swap meet. We've been there for about 20-some years. Did I do it? I think that they cleared the housing there. We were talking with Councilman Holmdahl before the meeting that a long time ago with the idea of building a hotel there, and so that was going to be the reason that they put the all that parking there. It was in 2004 that Gary Keefe, the city administrator at that time, was wanting to close down the swap meet. And it was Mayor DeWeese and Councilwoman Jan Keller that put it on the agenda. And so they extended the swap meet at that time. In the 10 years since then, estimating what I have been told that the swap meet brings in annually, the city has gotten between $180,000 and $200,000 in direct contributions to the city coffers. That's in addition to the business licenses and part of the sales tax. How much will the city make off of a Saturday morning empty parking lot? Compete with small businesses is one of the things that I heard that we need to close down the swap meet. Well, several of the vendors sell mainly fresh fruits and vegetables. The small business competition, grocery outlet, dollar stores, Vons owned by Safeway, all these are small business, let alone the famous small business known as Walmart. I don't think the swap meet is going to put Walmart out of business. If only small business is the real competition, it's the carniceria, sorry about my Spanish, guys, La Mexicana across the street from where we live. I call it the mini fiesta over there. Sissy's Uptown Cafe is about the only one that I know has a legitimate complaint about the parking. Well, how about posting no parking signs and warnings about towing, and then having private enterprise tow some of the people if they insist on parking where it is not legal for them to park? More than one Anglo has said to me, the swap meet, if the swap meet was all Caucasians, this wouldn't be happening. No Hispanic or Latino has made this same observation. I've heard it said that the decision was made and that there is nothing that can be done about it. Well, with that same reasoning, we would still have women with no vote. Segregation would still be legal. Oh, and we would still have prohibition too, if we couldn't change things. The whole community needs to have an agenda, a hearing by the city council. I think that if I was running for public office, I wouldn't dismiss nearly 50% of my constituents in the city of Lompoc. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Who's next? Come on, some of you guys raised your hands. Come on down. There you go. Good.
There you go. My name is Josh Rees. I'm obviously a little underdressed. I apologize. I speak, City Council, I'm speaking on behalf of the SWAT meet, obviously. To me, it's not just something, a hobby I do on Saturday. That's how I make my living. My wife, Shauna, I brought her with me this night, is disabled. I do in-home care with her all the time, and I'm unable to get a job because of that, so it supplements my income. And it's not just me. There's a lot of people out there who rely on the SWAT meet to make a living, and whether it be fruits, vegetables, or in my case, I sell entertainment, video games, that kind of thing. That's what we need out here. There's not a whole heck of a lot out here, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, Walmart, but again, like he said, we're not exactly going to be putting Walmart out of business. So really all we're doing is kind of putting the people that are relying on this out of a chance to make a living. So it's not just something small that can be closed down, it's something that people rely on to actually go about their day-to-day lives. And it just, I don't see, as I'm listening to all of the facts and statistics, I'm just not seeing enough of a reason why it should be shut down, especially because if it's a business thing, we're business owners too. We have our licenses. We're out there busting our butts every week trying to make a living, just like everybody else. And I think that we should be given a fair chance to, just like everyone else. I don't think any business should be favored over any other business, especially if we're out there one day a week trying to make our living. So I'm just speaking on behalf of everybody who's out there trying to make an honest living, trying to supplement their own income just so they can get by, because that's how I get by day to day. I live 5 blocks away from the SWAT meet, and if it weren't for that, I probably wouldn't be where I am right now, living in Lompoc. I'll be honest with you, I actually have a business out at Napomo, but I actually choose to come out here on Saturday and sell at this SWAT meet because I love this town. I've been here for almost 3 years now. I've moved from Arroyo Grande, and I love this town. I'll never go back because I like the way this town is. And that is a big part of that, because it just makes it so much easier for me to go out there and make a living. And it's something I love and enjoy doing. And it feels great to be given the opportunity to go out there and do that. So I'm just asking you to give us a chance. Please don't take that away from us, because we need that. It's not just something we do as a hobby. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you know the rule. We can't clap, but I appreciate it. Okay, who else would like to speak to us? Coming up for the last chance. Going once. Come on down.
Excuse me, I might get emotional. I'm very emotional, and my name is Mariah Garcia. I've lived here since I was 11 years old, and I've moved here from Santa Barbara. We lost everything, so we moved here. I got married. My husband's been retired out of the military. He works as a CO at the prison. Every Sunday, every Saturday we go to the SWAT meet. That's the family thing we do, because there's nothing here. You don't have no bowling alley. It's not like we can drive to the beach. You can't go swimming at the beach. There's nothing here for families, and that's why I'm emotional, because I have 2 small children, and being a full-time mother, stay at home, it's hard. It is. And I sell at the SWAT meet sometimes, maybe once every 2 months or something, and I don't do it because I need it for money. I do it because I love to get out there and be with all these people. We come together. It's like a family. Even though we don't know each other, we go out there every day, every Saturday, and we talk to each other. We're socialized. We joke around, and like, I just don't get it. Like, there's nothing for us as families, and we can go to the museum once in a while, do things, but if you sit down and really think about it, what is there for us families? I'm 21 years old, and I'm just saying this as a young individual, there's really nothing. And I see a lot of people go out there, young kids, like my sister's 16 and whatnot. They all go out there, and it keeps them out of trouble. Even if it's for an hour or two, you know that they're there and they're socializing, doing stuff that they're supposed to, not getting in trouble. And it may seem hard to believe, but when it comes down to it, we don't have nothing for us youth, like young kids. I mean, I do everything for the community that I can. I donate to the Catholic charities. I do everything I can as an individual and a young mother. But I'm just asking you to please keep it open. I mean, it doesn't, like, these people here are all here to, they're here to stand up for what's right, and it takes one of us to make it right. And it doesn't matter about age or anything, but we really need to keep this open and think. If you guys took the time out of your day each Saturday to go out there and it became a ritual with your family, you would see how much it meant to your heart. Because I go out there with my kids, with or without my husband, and we're there. And all these people out here, look at how many people came. This means so much to them. And I'm just saying, just take your time. Go out this Saturday and see how much people enjoy it. Come as families. And that's what my point is. And I didn't mean to get emotional. I'm very emotional. I just had a baby not so long ago. But I'm just letting you know, my husband works full time. We hardly get any family time together. And when we do, our first thing is to get up Saturday morning, go eat, go to the swap meet, walk around, spend time together, because that's what we know. And I just hope you reconsider it and understand. And I guarantee if you go out there this Saturday and spend an hour out there, you'll understand how much this means to all of us, not just myself. Thank you.
Thank you. You did just fine. Okay, anyone else? Okay, I want to close the oral communication. We're going to do one last, there we go. Come on down. Okay, if there's anybody else left, come on down. Don't be bashful.
Hello, my name is Maria. I'm just like the majority of the people here. I came to defend the Lompoc Sami. I haven't heard any opposers, which is good. My family and I have been living in Lompoc for over 13 years, and I've been attending Lompoc Sami for about 12. I know most of the vendors are here because their jobs are at stake, just like my dad's. I know the Sami employs a lot of vendors, and we're very loyal to it. We are there when the weather gets rough. We're there when it's raining sometimes. We're there when it's freezing cold. We're there. We're even there when it's raining. I know that the stand behind us has never missed a single Saturday, and it's just that it's them and all the other vendors that not just bring the Saturdays to Lompoc to life, but also make the Sami a reliable organization that the citizens of Lompoc can always depend on. And it's a great mix of culture. One thing that I've noticed is that when one vendor doesn't show up on Saturdays, you can feel the absence, and it just makes the Sami feel a bit empty. In a way, it shows that Lompoc, to me, Lompoc would feel empty without the Swami on Saturdays. It's also not fair that it's so close to the holidays and unemployment, and so close to the holidays. A lot of people that need jobs, and over a lot of vendors. It just seems very unfair for the families with low income. And again, it's just 6 to 7 hours a day in the morning. And it doesn't really cause a lot of trouble. That would be it. Thank you.
Thank you. You did very well.
Hello, my name is Rigoberto Tovar. My family owns Carniceria La Mexicana across the street from the swap meet. And I'd like to start off by saying that in 2013, we paid over $20,000 in utility bills. And we have bad days on the weekdays. We got good days. But the swap meet always helps us keep going. We've been here for 18 years or so, and it just helps. There's things that could be done to make the swap meet better, but it takes you guys to go out there. And look at it, look what you could do to help you guys and help us. I think that's about it. It just helps us. And taking it away would really hurt us as a business.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pedro Hernandez, and I've been here the last for 3 meetings. Last time I was here, there was a big amount of people, in favor of the SWAT meet, supporting the SWAT meet, and none of the members of the council, except the young lady right there, changed your mind about closing the SWAT meet. And I'm reading this card right here. It says your city council is interested in your opinion. Well, you heard our opinion last time, and there's more people, and I want to ask you tonight that really consider our opinion. We have said that before, and a lot of people are saying that now. If you close the SWAT meet, you're hurting part of the community. So, and we're here tonight asking you, don't close the SWAT meet, please. We need the SWAT meet. I've been here, I'm a resident of Lompoc since 1981. And I've been going to the SWAT meet ever since then, and I'm a vendor at the SWAT meet. And I have a job, I'm an electrician, that's what, but I also sell at the SWAT meet. And that income at the SWAT meet helps me. It's helping me pay the bills, my bills, I bought a house when they were very high in price, and thanks to my job and the SWAT meet, it's been helping me, not to lose my house. If you close the SWAT meet, you're going to hurt me, and you're going to hurt the community, and a lot of the vendors, and also a lot of the people that go and enjoy the SWAT meet. So we're here tonight asking you, please don't close the SWAT meet, and consider our opinions. Thank you.
Thank you, Pedro.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Steve Chidoba. I'm running for city council. I wouldn't run for city council. I didn't want to run. I just wanted to be a guy, just an ordinary citizen, just like how I'm dressed. But I saw injustice, and that's why I'm running. I get tired of it. I seen the injustice when I grew up. I seen the injustice now, people speaking and nobody listening. And the thing is I'm running because it's time for the city of Lompoc and their citizens and people to have a voice. On my own, in the last couple of weeks of just campaigning by myself, shaking other people's hands, I have met a lot of great people. I have met people who are support the SWAT meet. I have met people who are against the SWAT meet. I have in my hand right now 175 plus signatures. Many of these are from me. I went out and shook everybody's hand and said, do you support the SWAT meet? If they said no, I wrote them down, and I wrote them right here. Out of 175 people I have talked to, only 10 said no, we don't like the SWAT meet. 6 of them abstained. They said, we're neutral, we don't care. But the thing is that you have people who are listening, you have people who love the SWAT meet. I grew up on the SWAT meet. I'm a college graduate. I'm a double college graduate. I have 2 college degrees. But when I grew up and where I grew up, my mom only made $9,000 a year. SWAT meet helped us. SWAT meet got me through most of my thing, got my shoes, got my basketball stuff, got my clothes, got me fresh fruit, got me everything that I needed in order to be successful. Because of that and because of my mother and her heart and dedication, I went to college. I graduated and I became an educator. And as of right now, I work for Lompoc Unified School District as a substitute teacher through that and with Santa Maria Unified. And the thing is, our money is short. My wife, who's an educator too with Solvang, is very limited due to the fact we pay for health care, dental, and everything else. SWAT meet does help us. It helps us a lot by shopping around at different places and different ways to go. And I'm not sitting here as a politician, and I'm not running as a politician for city council. What I'm running as is an ordinary citizen who listens to the citizens of everything. And that's, you're positive, you have negatives, you're against, you're for. I'm open-minded, and that's what I teach my kids. I teach my kids to be open-minded when you discuss history, when you discuss government, when you discuss anything with anybody. Prime example, I had a nice discussion with a guy outside, and we basically, when did the United States start? When did the revolution start? Did it start at the Boston Tea Party? Did it start at the Lexington Concord? Everybody has their different views. Everybody has their different opinions. But one thing I tell my kids is that we live in America where the majority basically has a right to say, and everybody has a right to say, and the majority usually wins. And that's how it is. If we didn't, we would still be in slavery. We would still have discrimination. We would still be everything else. But the thing is that people overturn things. Their Senate votes for things that are for the people. And that's what we have to keep in mind. I talked to a lot of citizens. One woman named Sherry Woodward, which came in here, but she couldn't stay, got 35 signatures within about 12 hours. I met her at Jasper's Bar. We talked. We discussed. She went out on her own, got 35 of my 175 signatures. And that's saying something. And that is fantastic. I also have met the people from New Lowe's. Please stand up. Ordinary citizens right here. Businesses right down on Ocean who support the swap meet. Their only complaint was, we get trash. It blows in. But look at Lompoc. We live in Lompoc. It gets windy. Trash is everywhere. But they said all we do is they get a shovel, put it in the trash. So they're doing their community service. And they're citizens. These are just ordinary citizens. These are not vendors. These are not people who sell any of their goods or services. These are ones who still support it, just like I do, just like my wife, just like my family, just like many of the people on this list are not vendors. These are 175 citizens of Lompoc who are asking for you to not just hear us, but to listen to what we have to say. If you get rid of the swap meet, that's basically getting rid of 25 years of tradition. Because of what? Noise pollution? Because of people saying to get crowded? How about getting rid of the football game at Lompoc High? I live across the street. They won a very important game against AG, and I heard about it. And I heard it from my house. But they make a lot of noise. But should we get rid of them? No. It's a tradition. It's a thing in here. It's something that happens every Friday. You know that you live across the street. You know that it's going to happen. But you still support it. I support all basketball teams, support all football teams. I teach at Lompoc High a lot. And I tell the kids, do your best, speak your mind, open up. You have a voice, you have an opinion. You just need to have people to hear you. You just need to have it. 175, I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep on going until Election Day. I'm going to see if I can get 5,000. I'm going to see if I get as many as I can to show that citizens here at Lompoc want to change. They want you guys to reconsider and keep stuff for the middle and for everybody to enjoy the swap meet. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else? You only get one bite of the apple. Anyone else? Come on down. Anyone else? Come on over here.
Good evening. My name is Alexis Ray Hernandez, and I am currently a resident here in Lompoc, maybe not for long. I just wanted to bring up a couple of points in regards to, for one, the interpreters. When you have public meetings or anything, when the public, which is the community involved or invited, not all of us can follow the same language that you, with all due respect, that you have up here, with not being able to hear, not being able to see correctly, not being able to articulate the words properly. Interpreter meaning sign language, a different language. Sign language is the language, but Spanish. And also it says here, if in accordance with the American Disabilities Act, if you need special assistance to participate in this meeting, including review of the agenda and related documents, please contact the city clerk at 805-875-8241 at least 72 hours prior to the meeting. This will allow the time for the city to make reasonable arrangements to ensure accessibility to the meeting. With all due respect, but someone with a disability shouldn't have to request special help to come to a meeting that is for the community. And also in my bulletins, I also was questioning. In regards to the city budget, what is the city budget doing to ensure for the families of Lompoc? The resources are very limited here, considering the fact that all these families work very hard to provide for their families. And it's I walk these streets and I've gone through what I've gone through.
Take your time.
All it has to be is just if we can all work together rather than working against each other, I think life would be a lot easier for all of us here involved. I apologize. My train of thought is completely. There's a lot of energies in the room, but I thank you, and I do apologize if I seem to be a little bit off in presenting myself in my words, but thank you.
You did fine. Thank you. Anyone else? Last chance? Sure. You guys just want to see how many times I can say last chance, don't you?
Mayor, council members, I'm Robin Jackson, and I live here in Lompoc, and I just have one question. So many people are here trying to support, obviously, the swap meet, and I was not sure. Is this an opportunity for you to change your mind? Is this still on the table?
So what we would have to do is it's not on the agenda for tonight, so we couldn't make a decision. What we would have to do is decide to put it on a future agenda. That would be the process.
I see. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Last chance? Going once? Going twice? Gone. Okay. Now, just so everybody understands clearly, all of you that are here in asking to have the swap meet reopened, would you please stand up? Okay. Then that's the stand up and be counted part. Thank you very much. Okay, so just the music in the background. When the swap meet decision was made, I contacted the. No, you can't talk, but I can talk. I contacted Mike and put him in touch with the Lompoc Unified School District, and they've had some meetings, and they're looking at working their way forward. And what I think everybody up here said before was if something else can be worked out and a little time extension was needed, because what we agreed to the last time was rather than closing it immediately, we gave time so that a new location could be found. So Mike's working on that now, and we hope that will resolve it, but if not, we'll look for another location too. So it's not the last chance to find a place. And I don't think anybody up here would be unreasonable about giving a reasonable extension to make something happen. Okay, anybody else want to address this? Councilmember Costa.
Thank you, Mary Lynn. As I did last time, I wanted to thank everyone for coming. It's always very refreshing and really empowering when I see a lot of new faces in council chambers. Many times it's a lot of our same faces. Not that I don't love these faces, but it's nice to see new ones too. So thank you all for coming. And I just wanted to make a quick clarification. I think it was Pedro who spoke earlier. Thank you for remembering my stance. And I didn't change my mind. I've been very consistent and steadfast in how I feel about the swap meet, and understanding that there are challenges such as parking, trash is a great example, setup times and breakdown times, very technical things that can absolutely be dealt with. And so now that we've had such a substantial show of support, I wanted to ask the council, before we potentially put on an agenda item, to even just discuss an extension, to see if there's any potential discussion for looking back at the contract with the concessionaire.
Yeah, I got to go.
Real quick, I just want to bring up that I own property within 500 foot of the swap meet, 109, 111 South 8th Street. Chuck Arnold is my neighbor. New Lowe's is my neighbor. I have no influence or influx on this, and if this discussion starts, I will have to recuse.
You probably need to go. I would, yeah.
I think that, we've heard enough testimony over the last couple of weeks to understand that we aren't listening in the way in which we were elected to listen. And so I think that although contentious is a subject, that there is a solution. Many times we're faced with lose-lose situations. I don't think this is one of them. So I just wanted to see if there was any potential for agendizing an item that would allow us to discuss re-entering a contract with the concessionaire, granted with probably greater stipulations. There would be additional cost. I've been very forthright with that as well. But just to see if there was some thought on the council that we could do that, that's what I would be in favor of this evening.
Councilman Homdahl?
Yeah, it's a very interesting discussion, and I think the one thing that I didn't hear, what I did hear is that you wanted a swap meet, but you didn't say where you wanted it. The one thing that we looked at when we decided that, and then we passed it on down, is that we didn't cancel the swap meet per se, we canceled where it was at. Now, if something changes in the meantime, that's something else again. But I think that we had the vendor already come up, and he is looking and such. So the council didn't say they were against the swap meet, only the location of the swap meet.
Councilman Lingle?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm also glad to hear that there is some negotiations or discussions going on with the high school. I hope that turns favorable. And as the mayor indicated, we're not closed to giving a little additional time if that's what it's going to take. I don't think any of us are against the swap meet. Many times I was down there myself shopping at swap meet. I don't go there on a weekly basis, but I have been there numerous times. So it's not that we're against the swap meet. As Councilmember Humdahl said, it was got to be the location of the swap meet. It really outgrew that location. So anyway, I'm hoping that negotiations do continue with the high school. I'm hoping that it's a successful negotiations, and if it doesn't, we're certainly open for somewhat of an extension, so we can, or someone can find another location for that swap meet.
Councilman Costin.
Thank you, Mayor Lynn. Well, in light of the comments just stated by my fellow council members, is there any way for us to just agendize it now, understanding that, putting things on the council agenda takes some time, to see if we can just get an extension going, so at least there is a for sure location through the end of the year?
I think we would have to, if we wanted to do that, we would have to agendize that this week, or this meeting, to put it on next meeting, because their time runs out at the end of the month.
Right. So, Councilmember Lingle, are you aware, that's your hope would be that there's negotiation in between that would bring about a new location, but in such a short time frame, to bring it back to council would be a huge challenge in that time frame.
And let me say, knowing the steps that are now going to be required at the school district, it's going to take a little longer than perhaps was originally anticipated, because it's going to go through some more steps over there. When you say that, am I summarizing it right, Mike? Okay.
So at the bare minimum tonight, if we can agendize an item that looks at extension of the current concessionaire contract for a future agenda, I'd like to make that motion.
I'll be your second.
Mr. Mayor, just so you understand that I won't be here at the next council meeting. I'll be in Sonoma County, so that there'll be just the three of you. I have no problem with it being an agenda and an extension, but just letting you know I won't be here.
Okay. All right. So you're going to be the third to put it on? Okay. Well, you just got to tell me if you're going to be the third.
Okay, I'll be the third.
All right. So we have a third to put it on for discussion of an extension. And by then I'll have a report back with the school district. We played phone tag Friday and today, unfortunately. City Administrator.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. No problem with us being able to bring back the item. It's just not, it's going to be in a summary form, I guess. It's not going, we're past the deadline to be able to do a full staff report for you. Thank you. I just want to point out we have a couple options. Thank you to the city clerk for pointing that out. Our next meeting's on the 16th, our next regular meeting, and we can bring it that day, recognizing in either case, Councilmember Starbuck will not be participating, and if we bring it back on the 16th, Councilmember Holmdahl will not be available to participate. We do happen to have, September happens to be one of those months when we have a special third meeting on the 23rd.
Perfect. Perfect.
I'm
The
getting
first
late
meeting in
now.
October, what's wrong with the first meeting? This is October 31 that it expires. Is it October 1?
Yeah, it's September 30th.
September 30th it expired. So the third, make for the motion.
So
third meeting good for you? Let me just, okay. Third meeting good for you?
Well, do you feel like you would?
I'll be back.
We feel like it's necessary to be present because Councilmember Starbuck will have to recuse himself?
No, I think that the time frame is too short for the staff. We're already past where we should have the item up.
So this would be a meeting with just one agenda item?
No, there's other agenda items. What's on that meeting?
It's the general plan has a special meeting on the 23rd.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just an add-on
Sure.
item.
On the meeting of September 23rd?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm providing some options. In either case, we're basically in this, given the timing of things, we'd be putting up a title without, I don't know what else to do other than to replicate past staff reports and bring them forward, or how you'd like to have information.
I think it would just be
prepared, or if all you need is the title on the agenda.
If I'm understanding right, what's going to be on the agenda is just an extension of the deadline from the September 30th to some other date. That's all that was going to be on the agenda.
Okay. Yeah. So we don't need an in-depth. I'm just making sure you're not anticipating in-depth staff preparation on this, just the title that provides for that possibility of action.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dwayne, you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that item will be back to us on September 23rd. That's a special, I'm sorry? Yeah, for an extension. That's a special meeting that we were going to have for one item, and we'll have this item on it, and it will be the first item.
Mr. Mayor, I think we need to take a few-minute break because the 23rd could be an issue for you and I. We have the mayor's forum that day.
Well, I guess we won't have one. Yeah, that's got to yield to a council meeting, because we need to get the general plan work done, so they're going to have to make a change.
What time is the special meeting? 6:30. Okay, September 23rd.
Okay, so that item will be, and that's a meeting that won't have a lot of other items, so it'll be September 23rd at 6:30 if you want to come back and see us. And we'll take a 5-minute break. Okay, if everybody can find their seat, please. Everybody find a seat. Okay, we're now going to move to our consent calendar, which this evening we have 2 items. We have approval of the minutes for the Lompoc regular council meeting of 8/5/14, and we have approval of expenditures, a payroll voucher of $1.1 million, a payroll voucher of $1.3 million, 3 voucher registers totaling about $700,000, another voucher register for $275,000, utility refunds of $2,000, and I will not participate in the vote on check number 321646 to the Lompoc Lock and Safe for $89.74. And I'm looking for a motion.
All right. Approval of the minutes and approval of the expenditures.
And a second.
I'll second.
And is there any discussion? Seeing none, could we vote, please? And that passes 5-0. Thank you. And now we come to the first public hearing item. City of Lompoc fiscal year 2013-14 Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, alias the CAPER. And to present the CAPER, Christy.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, City staff, and the public. I'm Christy Alarcon, Community Development Program Manager. I have a presentation. Oh, thank you. I'm here tonight to present the City of Lompoc fiscal year 2013-14 Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, which I'll call the CAPER from now on, and hold a public hearing to review the CAPER, which you all received a copy of, and which is a report on the activities funded with Federal Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, Home and Human Service Funds. I'd also like to take the opportunity to gather any public comment and include that with the CAPER. We'll receive and file the CAPER, and I recommend City Council direct staff to file the CAPER with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD. Just to provide a little bit of background, the CAPER summarizes accomplishments made from July 1st, 2013 through June 30th, 2014 related to the use of CDBG, home, and local human service funds. While the CAPER references the activities and accomplishments periodically throughout the CAPER that were funded with the County of Santa Barbara Urban County Partnership CDBG funds or Home Consortium funds, it's not a requirement of the City of Lompoc CAPER to include those activities. I included them to support what the City of Lompoc is doing with regards to each section. The detailed report on those specific activities will be reported out in the County of Santa Barbara's 13-14 CAPER. A few highlights of the 13-14 CAPER. We're reporting out the investigation of 361 new code enforcement cases in the low and moderate income census tract areas, including the resolution of 331 of those cases. The completion of the lead-based paint abatement work at the Marks House Transitional Shelter, and some rehab work that needed to be done to allow for the lead-based paint abatement. The City Council, through Human Service Commission recommendations, allocated $137,165 to 17 human service programs, assisting a total of 33,778 persons. The administration of the city's CDBG loan portfolio, consisting of 37 single-family rehabilitation loans, with a cumulative principal balance of $1,680,971. Staff directly assisted 33 interested program applicants. Only one of those was approved and funded. Annual monitoring of 17 human service activities and technical assistance was provided to ensure compliance with CDBG regulations. Annual monitoring of 8 affordable housing properties was conducted during the fiscal year. The remaining 15 affordable properties were completed in July through August, but they weren't reported out in the CAPER since that wasn't the time frame covered. While no new economic development loans were made, staff worked with many business prospects and provided loan applications and referrals to the Small Business Development Center. Staff also worked to promote business development in partnership with the city's 23-member Economic Development Committee and assisted to implement the city's Economic Development Strategic Plan, provide public outreach, and actively seek out and participate in regional partnership opportunities. To get into kind of the nitty-gritty of the CAPER, it starts out with an executive summary, and then it has those sections there: general, housing, homeless, community development, non-homeless, special needs, all of the backup documentation, and then the certifications. HUD has a very specific form. They require that their questions start each section, and then they be followed by the City of Lompoc's response to those questions. There are also very specific time requirements. There's a 15-day public review period that began August 11th and concluded on August 26th. HUD requires that within 90 days after the end of the program year, local governments that receive CDBG, home, ESG, and HOPWA funds directly from HUD must ensure that all activity information in IDIS is up to date and as of the last day of the program year. IDIS is the online reporting system that we utilize in order to report out all our activities and our draws. The end of the year reporting fulfills three purposes: helping the grantee, one, meet the HUD requirement for the CAPER, produce accurate IDIS reports, some of which must be made available to the public and have by their attachments to the CAPER, and also ensure that HUD will have the most current information during its annual assessment of a grantee's performance. The following CDBG program income funds were available for use during the reporting period. All the stars are there because they're unaudited amounts, and I just want to point that out. The fiscal year-end reconciliation is not complete at the time of publishing the staff report, and due to the deadline of December 31st and, September 30th, and us not being able to get our external audit completed until December 31st, we have to move forward with the unaudited amounts. So the CAPER includes accomplishments made using the funding described above. There's no negative fiscal impact to the general fund. CDBG program income has provided funds for social services, fair housing services, housing rehabilitation, and public facilities, which have relieved the city's general fund of providing such services. Also, $51,339 of the CDBG program income helped defray operating costs of the Community Development Division during fiscal year 13-14. The Economic and Community Development Department is funded from a variety of resources based on the services provided. Such resources include CDBG program income, but are not limited to program income, as it also includes general fund and other sources. In conclusion, the CAPER is an annual report required by HUD. It is to be completed within 90 days of the close of the fiscal year, and by completed, it has to be submitted to them by then. All funding allocations and projects recapped in the annual report have been previously approved by City Council, and by reviewing the CAPER and holding a public hearing, staff will be able to submit the report with any comments to HUD in compliance with this requirement. That concludes staff's report. Thank you, and if you have any questions, I am available.
I'd like to congratulate you on getting it to us before the last meeting, before the deadline. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't know which you choose first. Councilmember Lingle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Christy, thank you very much. To say it's a very detailed report is an understatement, so thank you. A couple questions, but first, if you could turn to page 3 of the actual evaluation report. And the fourth bullet is, it says an additional $165. Is that a misprint or is that an actual, is it $165?
I'm sorry, which page?
Okay, page 3 of the actual City of Lompoc CAPER's evaluation report. So,
The staff report or the caper?
the caper.
I'm sorry. Page 3, fourth bullet down, I have annual monitoring.
Well, it's the fourth bullet down. It says an additional $165 in prior year's CDGB.
First black bullet, white bullet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, first.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is,
Yes, that's correct.
okay. We're talking millions of dollars. It seemed like an unusual amount when we're talking 165. So, okay, so it is correct.
Correct. That's, yes, that's just what was utilized for the human services activities.
Okay. And then in the staff report on the loans, it says of the 33 interested applicants, only one was approved and funded. Can you tell me why?
Sure. Our single-family rehab loan program has some lending guidelines that, while they are pretty lenient, we still have to protect the city's interests. One of those guidelines is a loan-to-value ratio of 90%. Most people, unfortunately, that applied, they were over that on their loan-to-value, so they owed more on their home than the value. And I think unfortunately, there's a lot of homeowners in that situation right now.
Okay, well, I appreciate you looking out for the city's interest, because I think we've been in trouble with that in the past. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Then in the actual CAPER report, page 5, the block there with a bunch of numbers, the second one, Housing Rehabilitation Loan Program.
Yes.
And that, the goal was 20 units, and so far to date, we've accomplished 1 unit. And then the same thing with the next one. 20 is the goal, we've accomplished 1. What's the story on that?
That would be the same story. It's the loan-to-value ratio and the amount of applicants are coming in. So we're marketing the program well. It's just finding those homeowners who qualify has been the challenge.
Okay, and again, I thank you for looking out for our interest. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Starbuck?
Yeah, Chris, I just want to take a few minutes. I know that this is a form that needs to be filled out, but I'm going to stay on page 5 for a second here.
Okay.
These goals are established and the amounts are allocated already. Who did this allocation? Because what we're seeing up here is something not included in our report, and that's the Urban Consortium Strategic Plan. Is that where this comes from, or is this a staff decision? Because these numbers never do come before council for CDBG allocation that I'm aware of.
Right.
Not in
And
this detail.
you're referring to the goals, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The goals were actually established based on the, it's a little different for us. So we typically with CDBG, you produce a consolidated plan, which is your 10-year plan, or your 5-year plan. Then each of those 5 years is your annual action plan. Because we are not a direct recipient of CDBG anymore, we don't do the consolidated plan, and we don't do an annual action plan. So we unfortunately do not set those goals. We're included in the discussion, and I think when those numbers came up as far as the number of units, I would assume that staff was looking at projections, looking at how many loans we were doing in the past, and then saying over the next 5 years, which it's not really a lofty goal. If you divide it by 5, it's only 4 loans a year. I mean, it's actually kind of low. It's just we've hit this kind of barrier with, unfortunately.
I mean, we've also included in here, Legal Aid Foundation and, Food Bank and Valley Haven. And I mean, there's several big things here that we have no input on with, just goals and objectives. And
You do have input on how it's funded. So April 15th, I came to you with the budget. You approved the allocation of dollars and the projects. That comes before City Council, as well as the projects listed under Public Services and Public Facilities on page 6. That comes before you.
That's where I was just looking. So we've actually seen the Urban Consortium Strategic Plan then.
You would have seen the goals, yes, because our goals are in line with theirs.
All right.
We are part of the Urban County Partnership.
Yeah,
We
but
are
I mean,
agreed to
we made the
that.
statement that we don't reflect on that also, though. We stand alone with ours. Little input that I thought would be important. Having many, many hours on a contract compliancy document policy for the city,
yes,
wouldn't the right place to put that be under managing the process? On page 8 there?
On page 8.
Because we do list it, but we list it back under the institutional structure.
We could probably reiterate it there under managing the process.
As important as it is our sole monitoring tool that we're going to use, so I think that it would be our main management tool also. That would be my input on this. I'll go ahead and let somebody else have a turn real quick.
Okay, anyone else? Councilman Costa.
Thank you, Marilyn. I just have a quick question about the homeless section. With everything that's going on right now at the county with C3H and the continuum of care, if you weren't involved, you probably wouldn't know what happened. But anyway, there's a shift of continuum of care that was entire Santa Barbara County, and now C3H is creating, in conjunction with the county, what's called a continuum of care, which is how the county sort of strategizes and deals with homelessness. So with that change happening, would there be any reason to include that in this report? Because it does take my time at those policy council meetings to make some of those decisions. I know that my position isn't funded in part by CDBG, so I didn't know if it was included, but I thought I would put that out there.
Right. So next fiscal year, CAPER 14-15, I will spend a little more time speaking to the COC and all of the going-ons that have happened over the last year. This is solely speaking on 13-14. I didn't include C3H's movement at that time because it doesn't affect 13-14 funding. It will affect 14-15 funding because COC will be ran by C3H and all of the funding priorities will go through them for 14-15 funds. So we're looking back at the year.
Okay. Right, and so I guess the shift is happening, well, I don't know if it already happened.
It has.
But it's been at the very tail end of the report, so you think it would not, okay. I'll trust you.
There's no funding tied to it. So the CAPER is solely tied to funding.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Starbuck.
Yeah, just another couple of real quick questions here. We go to page 16 and the affordable housing evaluation here. I was just kind of curious, when we do our monitoring, and we talked very briefly about this in the past, do you have any rough idea of the cost of this monitoring?
I
take that into account with the CAPERs, the amount of staff time in a breakdown. I didn't find it in here, and is it not available?
Well, I guess if you wanted to analyze it pretty detailed, you could look at FTEs, full-time equivalents of staff that are assigned to the actual monitoring. So we have probably 2.5 staff that are working on the monitoring.
That leads to another question. If we have a 10-unit apartment, do we monitor all 10 units or one?
We monitor every single unit with regards to operating compliance, every single rent roll to make sure that every single tenant is paying the appropriate rent based on their income. If you're asking, do I go into every single unit? No, we look at typically 3 units. We like to kind of use the 20% rule, but we usually do a minimum of 3 units, complete housing habitability quality check list through those. And then also we do complete file review on 3 of those as well.
I have another question that this is not involving the CAPER directly, but it's very recent weeks here that since we're in the consortium and they do control our money, and I know a certain percent of our money is is allocated to Bridge House, they take from us to run that shelter. With the failure of that well, did we lose any of our CDBG money in that, or with the closure of Bridge House, are we going to receive money back on this? No idea, or is it?
No, the calculations that are done and I received, for example, 1415 that I've been involved in from the beginning, there's no money taken off the top of our share to go to Bridge House. That is in the county, and the county funds Bridge House, and we fund Bridge House from our Human Services Fund, but it's not like they said you're going to give Bridge House $20,000 every year because you're part of the consortium. That's not how
it works,
no.
But that's one of the reasons we might look to get out of the consortium, is because then we would have the additional money.
We would have the same amount. We choose to give Bridge House $20,000.
We choose, right.
That's what the Human Services Commission recommended to you all.
Right.
I'm sorry, just wanted a clarification. Was the Bridge House 6,000 and Mark's House 20,000?
Correct.
And the Bridge House is a human services, so that they have to complete their objectives of serving so many people, which they have done. So we wouldn't, the only way we would not reimburse them is if they didn't meet those objectives in their contract.
Correct.
Christy, let's assume you go to this 10-unit complex and you review 3 units and 2 of them fail. Does that then cause you to go look at some more?
We have to be careful there because we want to be fair across the board. So if we go to look at 3 units.
You phrase that, fail in a big way.
Fail in a big way. Luckily, I haven't been posed with that situation, but I would bring a report to council with the monitoring report showing that those units have failed after giving the landlord an opportunity to comply and correct the issues. What it would do for me, overseeing the monitoring of those, is the next fiscal year or even sooner, if council so directed staff to do so, we would head out again and look at 3 different units and continue to monitor the units and make sure compliance was met. I mean, we would definitely bring it back to you.
Happily, you haven't had to do that.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, because we've had some in the past. Okay, good, thanks. Councilmember Costa.
Thank you, Mayor Lynn. Councilmember Starbuck, Mayor, I'm so glad you brought that up because it completely left me. Anecdotally, one of the stories that I've been told in the community is that there was a family in a complex that was waiting for an inspection and nobody ever came. So whether there was some miscommunication there, but I started thinking, well, I wonder if that's kind of what got us into trouble with LHCDC a little bit, is maybe we weren't checking enough units to ensure compliance. Maybe that's something we need to address, but then that's staff time, so kind of what is that balance? 20%, seems okay, but because of the history that we've had, I'd almost would want us to err on the side of caution for the time being and ensure that the residents living in the community in these units aren't subject to uninhabitable environments. So, making sure they're paying the right rent, that's one thing. I know people with LHGC were overpaying rents or whatever, underpaying. There was this whole controversy. But that thought came to my mind because it was told to me, and so I don't know if council's in favor or if staff has considered, perhaps doing in excess of 20%, maybe looking, closer to 30 or 40% of the units. And I know that's more staff time, so is that we charge more to CDBG to do that, but we're ensuring that our community is, living in good units. So I don't know.
Well, there's, on the backside of this, and I'll let Christy talk about it too, but remember that on the backside, we have a couple other tools here because these CDBG fund code enforcement. So if someone has a substandard unit, they're able to file a complaint with code enforcement and get it looked at. And number 2, we also fund through the Human Services Commission legal aid. So if somebody is having trouble with a landlord, they have the ability to go to legal aid and receive assistance. So there's a couple levels of fail-safe in it. And I don't remember now. I think there's a rule about why we do 20%, but you can address that.
So there is no rule. Home-funded units, there is a whole risk analysis tool now that HUD is using, and you do your baseline year, you go out and look at your 3 units, you do all of the programmatic and all of the review of everything else. And when I say 3 units, I just want to add, we don't just go and put our blinders on and look at these 3 specific units. We do the entire exterior of the complex, and we walk the complex, so we do get approached by tenants, and it does happen, that may have a complaint, and we are ready as staff to refer them to free legal aid, take their name down, get their information, so that we can note that. And if it seems like something that a landlord is being a little bit deceitful or doing something inappropriate, perhaps trying to steer us towards a specific unit, that doesn't happen. We select the units. We go through and randomly pick what 3 units we want to look at. And
oh, sorry. So it's 3 units, not 30% of the unit.
It's 3. It has worked out to be 3 for almost every property except 2 big ones. We had ended up doing a few more, and also because there were those little flags that came up when we went to the property.
How much is a few more? What are we talking
We
about?
went up to 6 on one and 5 on the other. Just to kind of, without pinpointing a specific unit, to kind of include them in it. Whether it was in a different building that perhaps was being complained about plumbing. So we could say, okay, we've looked at 1 in every single building now. Mm-hmm. So things like that.
How many units in a complex where you checked 6?
It's our 100 unit occupied.
Okay, so we're talking 6%. So
for that one is what it works out to.
Yeah, so I think we need to look at that.
Okay, anything else from council at this time? Okay, thank you, Christy. Okay, I'd like to open this up for public comment. Who out here would like to talk to us about this?
Pam Wall, local resident, and Ashley Costa, you're referring to me on the complex on L and Maple. I've addressed the city council before, except council member Holmdahl. You'll recall when failure of oversight came out, and this particular complex had been, the people there had been overcharged. Started, I believe, in 2005, 2006. The family, when all this went on, I went out to these complexes that LHCDC had, after reading them about them in the paper and talking to the people and looking at how trashed out, unbelievable conditions that they were living in. And some of you saw those pictures. Bob, you did. We've had discussions on this. I've addressed this, and the mayor, we've discussed this before. And the family is the only one that has stayed there, but they have been overcharged ever since they moved in there in 2006. And when letters were out about the overcharge, and I'll have to say, Linda Wortman is the one that did the oversight on this and did a good job. And it was written up in the failure of oversight, and I think it alluded to the home funds. It was the RDA funds that actually went out. This particular property has a 55-year RDA covenant on it. I believe it's a 30 or 35-year home, so it is still under covenant for the rents and conditions and everything that need to be maintained there. And I had talked with Linda several times, and I called her last week about getting together with her to come up with exactly the amount they've been overcharged through last year. They send in their paperwork every year. This is a family, a large family. Those are all three-bedroom apartments there. There's 12 units, two buildings, 3 up, 3 down on each side. And I told you, I'm coming back because these people deserve their money back. The buck is going to stop somewhere on this. He works in the field 6 days a week. They're here illegally. And he made $22,000 last year. He was laid off for 4 months. That money is important to them. It's nothing to the city and the county, and the city and the county need to step up to the plate. It's a failure of oversight of both, and the buck has got to stop there. That property has been improved on the outside considerably. A new owner has come in and purchased that property, and they've made some good improvements on the outside. All of those units have been remodeled because as people moved out and came and gone, because this family is still there. Theirs has not. There is mold, there is rust coming down from the ceiling from when it leaked from up above. It's coming down through their bathroom cabinet. They have removed the mold. They have painted. They've done the best that they can do. There's several in the family. I sponsor them at the community garden, and they work there. So I was the one sitting out there when the county came by, freezing because they didn't turn their heat on because they were trying to save money. It was colder inside than it was outside. And watched the people go upstairs waiting for them, and they never came down. So I went and asked. No, they had taken off. They looked at the 3 apartments, I guess, upstairs and left to go look at another apartment. It was my understanding they were going to, that the Urban Futures had taken this over and was going to look at 100% of the units. Well, maybe 100% means the buildings and only 1% of the units. But this has gone on long enough now, and as I told you, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm back. And this needs to get resolved. Thank you.
Pam, have they talked to legal aid? You know?
No, they haven't talked to legal aid. They kept thinking somebody from the city was going to come out and they were going to be able to talk to them. And if I have to go take them to legal aid, I will. And if we have to sue the city and the county, we will. It's not that much. It's nothing to this city or to the county. And you have to do the right thing. What has happened is not legal, and it's not right.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, after the meeting, let me get you the phone number for legal aid so you can take them there.
I have the phone number for legal aid, and I have the person who to talk to.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak to us on this subject? Seeing no one rise, we'll close public comment and come back to the council. Any additional questions from the staff on this? Councilmember Costa.
Thank you, Mary Lynn. Christy, just one more thing, or 2 quick things. First of all, I did want to say thank you because I know that this is like, the very typical onerous government document, so I can read. So thank you for doing that. I know that is a lot of work for you and your staff. I was just curious, the HOPWA funds, is there a reason why we decided not to bring those into Lompoc? Do we not qualify for that?
I don't think we do qualify. Usually that's an entitlement grant that a city receives. I know that the county doesn't qualify, city of Santa Maria doesn't qualify, and that's housing opportunities for persons with AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
So typically, I've not really seen those funds in any of our neighboring jurisdictions as well. I could look into it more and get back to you.
Yeah, the only reason I ask is because I know that the Pacific Pride Foundation has recently come into Lompoc to provide services for anonymous testing. And so I think that we're going to have now a resource on data that we didn't have previously. So I didn't know if it was a lack of data. So I was just, but they are already in Santa Maria and Santa Barbara. So if you could just find out a little bit more.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, and accept the motion. I did that. Councilmember Lingle?
I move we accept staff recommendations.
And a second.
I'll second.
And is there any further discussion? Seeing none, could we vote, please? That passes 5-0. Thank you. And now, something fun. Item number 4, new business, the Creative Crosswalk Grant Application. And Joanne?
Mary Lynn, I'll be, okay. Although there is no technical, legal conflict of interest, as I've done previously, anything that has anything remotely to do with me or my organizations, I'll be recusing myself because this grant is in partnership with an organization that I work for.
You can come and testify as a member of the public.
Well, good evening, Mayor, council members, audience at home, and with us here tonight, and staff. Tonight, we're here to discuss a Creative crosswalk grant application. Staff is recommending that the City Council provide a letter of support for the grant application submitted by the Lompoc Valley Healthcare Organization or provide alternate direction. So a little bit of background. One of the reasons I love my job is because in 2013, I was able to come across an article called 75 Seriously Fun Ways to Make Your Town More Playful. One idea from this article was to incorporate creative crosswalks into local communities. The Lompoc Valley Community Healthcare Organization and the Healthy Lompoc Coalition are working closely with the city on Safe Routes to the School program. So I approached LVCHO so that we can look into what are options there, since they're already doing work on improving sidewalks and crosswalks in Lompoc. Unfortunately, after exploration of the funding guidelines for the Safe Routes to School program, a creative crosswalk project just would not be possible through this resource, so the idea was shelved until a funding resource could be identified. Then, in June of this year, the Santa Barbara Foundation released the 2014 Community Investment Opportunity, a grant application specifically for creative communities. The foundation is currently seeking proposals that specifically establish or expand the regional identity as a modern and vibrant arts destination, light bulbs, revitalize and enliven a cultural community or district, and cultivate career pathways and opportunity for young, emerging, and working artists. More light bulbs. So Community Healthcare Director Ashley Costa approached the Recreation Division and to explore the idea of a creative crosswalks as a competitive proposal for the Santa Barbara Foundation. LVCHO would act as the author and fiscal agent for the grant, with collaborative efforts from the City Recreation and Engineering Divisions, the Lompoc Arts Council, the City's Economic Development Committee, and all partnering agencies of the Healthy Lompoc Coalition. Our proposal would include 4 creative crosswalks installed at the intersection of South H and Cypress Streets, 2 creative crosswalks installed at the intersection of North I and West Walnut Avenue, 1 creative crosswalk installed at the 3-way intersection of South O Street and Cypress Avenue. And these locations were chosen to maximize the economic impact to the downtown businesses on both sides of Ocean Avenue and to create an artistic connection to large community events at Ryan Park, while also increasing pedestrian connectivity from the residential regions adjacent to the creative crosswalks. The Lompoc Arts Council will host a competition amongst local artists for the design of the artwork. LVCHO will work directly with a licensed contractor to fabricate templates and for the installation of the creative crosswalks themselves under a city-issued encroachment permit. The Public Works Department has expressed concerns related to this proposed project regarding safety and maintenance. And I have to say the Public Works Department has been very gracious with their time and energies and helping to work as a team in this project. The City of Lompoc utilizes the California Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices to provide for uniform standards and specifications for all traffic control devices. The Engineering Division is not currently aware of an adopted standard for creative crosswalk installations, but research is currently underway to determine if a standard exists for creative crosswalks in California, and to date nothing has been confirmed. But in talking with Mike Luther earlier, he did pull from the MUTCD standards the definition for a crosswalk, which there's a few little parts to it, but one definition is any portion of a roadway at an intersection or elsewhere distinctly indicated as a pedestrian crossing by pavement, marking lines on the surface, which might be supplemented by contrasting pavement texture, style, or color. Yay. So, sorry, I like this idea. So we're still looking to see if there's anything else, but to minimize those safety concerns, all of the proposed locations will be installed where existing stop signs and crosswalks are already located. The design guidelines will require artists to incorporate the 2 white lines of the transverse crosswalk into their artwork. Short-term maintenance will be included in the grant proposal, and LVCHO has committed to working with the city, local artists, and organizations to coordinate maintenance of the creative crosswalks by volunteers at no additional cost to the Street Maintenance Division. The fiscal impact, there is none. There's no fiscal impact to the City of Lompoc for LVCHO to apply for the $75,000 community collaboration for the 2014 Community Investment Opportunity Grant. If we are awarded, the installation and project oversight would be funded. The application, if awarded, includes limited term funding for project maintenance costs, and once that installation is completed, securing longer term maintenance resources would be coordinated by the grantee LVCHO. So in conclusion, While this project fulfills all of the mandated criteria of the grant program, it is a competitive process, and this project may not be funded. The grant proposal is due to the Santa Barbara Foundation on Monday, September 8th, and the collaborative partners would like to include the support of the City Council in the packet. While each partnering agency working on this project is excited for different organizational goals, the common goal of improving our community is abundantly clear. And to give you a little visual, we have a little presentation. Creative crosswalks. So where we're looking at our creative crosswalks are the 3 different locations. The one on the left is the West Walnut Avenue, North I Street, and in the top corner of that, I got a little pointer. That's the Anderson Recreation Center, so it's a nice connection to our current activities there, the neighborhoods, and then heading down I Street to the commercial industry and heading up here to H Street to the commercial industry. This one up here on South H and Cypress is a great intersection. We have a lot of activity to include downtown market. In current years, we have limited the street closures for the downtown event, but in speaking with our Streets Maintenance Division and our Public Works Department, we'd be able to expand that for the those closures for the installation and make it a large community event for the installation and dedication of those crosswalks. And even though you can't see it because of the trees, there are white lines right there. So all of these, again, have current white lines. The last location is West Cypress and South O. This right here is Ryan Park. So again, connecting the neighbors to all the different activities at Ryan Park. So here's some examples of some different crosswalks. This is the Pasadena, the Playhouse District. Pasadena chose the concept of a pattern 2-color template utilizing existing transverse lines in their Playhouse District. So this is similar, it's kind of hard to see here, but these have all the white lines on them surrounding their crosswalk right there. Additional stencil designs. This is getting a little bit creative. These are some examples of single or multicolor stencil patterns, some using the existing crosswalk lines and some choosing to stand alone. Remember, we've promised the Public Works Department we will use the transverse lines. A few more stencils. Again, any of these patterns, if these were chosen after the competition, something like this, they could easily incorporate the transverse lines as well. This is a nice use of a stencil that still has a creative crosswalk with only one color. In West Hollywood, they took the rainbow effect and went a little wild, choosing 3 different variations and using all 3 in their downtown area. 2 of these 3 designs are using the existing crosswalk lines. And for the business-minded, as you can see, these are some examples of an area that can focus on business. You have a dining crosswalk, a comb to promote a local hair salon, a barcode to promote shopping, and even putting an obvious message into the design. And by the way, Lompoc would fit very nicely like that. This is getting a little creative, some examples of how creative artists can get with their designs, even taking them to the 3D element. The bottom 2 are 3D, and the blue, yellow, and white one I've seen on quite a few different examples, and it really does look like speed bumps. It's pretty cool. And these are ones just having some fun. So here are a few of my personal favorites. The hopscotch has a few different variations with shoe prints, bird tracks, and the barefoot that you see here. The giant shoe is fun, but my all-time favorite is the giant zipper. That could have a great play on words from a marketing perspective. However, these examples are not the ones we're going to be choosing from, should we be funded. The grant clearly states that we will be looking to local artists to design something, and there will be a contest to choose the winners. I just wanted to make sure that you had a clear picture of some of the ideas we may see during this process. And that concludes my report for this evening, and I am available, as is our Community Healthcare Director, is available if you have any questions.
Councilor Lingle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You got my email then?
I did.
Okay, good, because I'm glad you had the graphics here, because I was having trouble visualizing it. If you recall, several years ago when we had the discussion with possibly having a graffiti wall and this is what I was visualizing, is allowing a bunch of kids to have their fun with graffiti on their crosswalks. This would be okay. Okay.
I'm glad we could.
I was just having trouble visualizing it. Okay, but I do have a couple questions. You said there's, and I know the staff report says there is no financial cost to the city, but that's for the time being. Eventually, long-term maintenance could possibly have some financial impact. Is that correct?
Currently, LVCHO has committed to finding the volunteers, the organizations, the funding, if there's funding necessary to come to the table to make this happen. We have spoken in depth with the Public Works Department and trying to compile a plan. How we are envisioning this, as you saw, a lot of work with stencils, a lot of one pattern stencils or a couple pattern stencils. We're seeing this, the vision of this is simplistic. And we're looking at a design to be chosen, and that will all be in the guidelines for the artists as well. We're not looking for a mural on the ground. We're looking for a design that can be easily replicated for installation and then easily maintained. We don't want to shut down the streets for 8 hours to maintain these crosswalks. We're envisioning a very simple process similar to what our streets maintenance division does now to maintain the transverse lines, to come in perhaps behind them with a little bit longer closure to just come back in and touch that up. If everybody at LVCHO goes away tomorrow and that the city doesn't want to pick it up at that time, the absolute worst case scenario would be that the roads get repaved or slurry sealed and a regular crosswalk goes back in its place.
Okay, thank you. And don't get me wrong, I'm excited about this project. I think it'll be nice. It fits right in with what we're trying to do with our city. So when I ask these questions, they're a little bit probing, I guess. I was concerned about the cost, and I think there was some potential for future costs. So I'm glad you came up with that. Let's see, public safety. I do have a concern with public safety. And I guess we don't have anyone from the police department here, but maybe Public Works can address it. I'm concerned that sometimes it may be a little distracting to drivers. I mean, drivers were trained to look at a certain crosswalk. Is this going to, even though I'm glad there's lights at these intersections, so that's good.
Not lights, stop signs.
Stop signs, okay. That's okay. So address public safety for me.
Mike Luther, Assistant Public Works Director, City Engineer. That was my first concern, is that I don't want to see something that's going to distract a driver. That was kind of why we got together and I kind of selected these locations. They're all stop controlled. Technically you don't even have to have a crosswalk at these locations. So the whole idea is to keep the pattern so that it's still identifiable as a crosswalk. So it's not something crazy where you don't know it's a crosswalk. You're still going to know it's a crosswalk.
Okay, so Mr. Luther, your earlier concerns when staff report was written, you may not have those same concerns anymore about public safety?
Well, it all depends. There's no pattern. We don't know what the idea is yet because the artists haven't done it. So I think as you're evaluating these, you're going to have to consider that.
And that's what I ask. I mean, thank you for addressing that, because I think that is something we need to do when we look at these, address them and consider, are they going to be distracting? Will they adversely affect public safety?
We will definitely be including a lot of these concerns in the guidelines for the competition itself. As well, we'll be including a representative from the Public Works Division in the contest selection, because we are concerned about safety as well. And then if I can, I'd like my cohort to come on up here.
This is weird. No. Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Costa, Director of Community Health for the Lompoc Valley Community Healthcare Organization. That's the hat I have on right now. Visualize, please. The one thing I wanted to mention is in some of the data, or in some of the research that we did, originally my thought was, well, we'd want it to be retroreflective, just like the transverse lines make it easier to see. But actually what we're finding is in some of the language that Mr. Luther has looked over, it's recommended that you actually use muted colors that are non-retroreflective. So a driver will see it, but it's not going to be as easy to see as the transverse lines. The other thing was, or am I saying it right? Transverse, right? The other thing was, in researching the other communities that have it, this was an intuitive connection that I made was, okay, well, if other communities are experiencing increased public safety concerns, would they eliminate them? Would they pave over them? Would they get rid of them? So in the outreach that we did to the other communities, that just wasn't the case. So just wanted to let you know we had looked into that.
Okay. Well, thank you.
If I could respond to that too, that's right at the end of what Ms. Costa covered is, my understanding is the experience in other communities that have done this, Pasadena and the like, is that they haven't had an increased incidence. Now, it's still worthwhile for us to monitor our own experience going forward, and we would do that. My personal experience has in other communities, not with these creative crosswalks, but with non-traditional crosswalks, I'd say crossings that have a configuration that's different than just two lines that are perpendicular to the flow of the street, using pavers, using high visibility crosswalks, which are lined out differently, using solid patterns. We haven't had any challenge with public safety, and in fact, in the case of using non-traditional, what's called this high visibility crosswalk, it actually creates an enhanced experience for the pedestrians in terms of safety. And so my hope is for these types of crosswalks, it would not only be something fun and get people out walking and exercising and doing, adding to the walking experience that way, but actually may actually help in safety regards sometimes.
Councilman Starbuck.
I'll be the little negative Nelly for a minute.
Okay.
I'm going to go digress. The statement that says Public Works Department expressed concerns related to this project kind of clicked with me. And the one thing that I noticed here, it says, if a standard exists for creative crosswalks in California or any other state, and to date nothing has been confirmed. So there's no standard for what the crosswalk would be. Does this force us to create a standard here? What did Pasadena and them use for a standard, or is it just based upon a panel from whoever's going to select? It's just kind of a gray area we're in right here. We're going to do a program, but we're going to do it without any kind of guidance, is what I interpret here.
Well, and as we started this process, you're right, it's kind of going in a little bit blind. So in speaking with Mike Luther and other representatives from the engineering division, we realized that Lompoc utilizes the California MUTCD standards when they're making decisions related to our streets. So what Mr. Luther had found was the definition that I read to you earlier, which was a crosswalk definition being any portion of a roadway at an intersection or elsewhere distinctly indicated as a pedestrian crossing by pavement marking lines on the surface, which might be supplemented by contrasting pavement texture, style, or color. So by the MUTCD standards that Mike shared with me this evening, we actually, no matter what we put in the middle of there, would comply with their definition of crosswalk. So we would be in compliance with the standards that the city's currently using. Does that help you, Nellie? Councilmember Starbuck.
Well, Ms. Bulb, it does help me. It does answer the question, but that's why I wanted to put it out in the staff report here, because if Public Works is going to have an issue with it, then I think that we should address theirs before we go into the process. But if they're good, I'll be good.
Councilman Romdo.
Yeah, the way things went, I thought we could get the 3D ones. That looked real good, but it looks like that's not going to happen. You guys have talked it out. I'd rather see the 3D. That would look real good across there and get the people's attention. But the idea of what you're doing is making it look nice and improving that section, and also ties the community. I think it's an excellent idea, and I think that Mr. Luther is going to be working with it. He's not going to have anything on the road that's going to cause him problems.
I did also want to share with council that when we first started talking about this and we saw that we weren't going to be able to do it near the schools because of the Safe Routes to School program, one of the areas that we first came into mind was H-Notion. And so we spent quite a bit of time researching that opportunity, and the bottom line was we did not want to come before the city and ask the city to take on 4 crosswalks that are currently not in the responsibility of the city. So that's why we started looking elsewhere and started talking to the Chamber, Economic Development Committee, the Public Works Department, and said, okay, where else could we go that could have the same kind of impact that we were looking for when we really wanted to go to H-Notion? So, and that has come up a lot, and that's why I wanted to bring that up tonight, because we spent quite a bit of time looking at that.
I think they're great. It's really looks like fun. And, you know, I'm sitting here thinking about all the cities I have been in where they use different types of textures, colors of stamped concrete for crosswalks. Santa Barbara has the brick look. Yeah, should be a lot of fun. We have a lot of very creative people here.
And this is truly a community collaboration coming together. That's, in order to apply for the $75,000 that we're looking at, it has to be a community collaboration. So the city is one of the collaborative partners. The Chamber of Commerce, the Economic Development Committee falls under the city, LVCHO, the Lompoc Arts Council. And so anybody that we're talking to about it, we see a lot of energy forming, and we're getting very excited.
And when the first one's done, you're going to wear the elf suit to open it, right?
Whatever suit I need to.
Oh, please, no.
Okay, so let's take a break and go to public comment. Who would like to talk to us about some creative crosswalks? Anybody out there? Ta-da! Okay.
Hi, Frank Campo, resident of Lompoc. You know, I like this idea. You look at that flag right there. Our motto is City of Arts and Flowers. So that's bringing kind of arts back to the city. I like that. The only thing I would like to see is we're doing it in 3 different locations. Ryan Park, a lot of sports there. I'd like to see maybe a sports kind of theme on the crosswalk. I know we're going to keep it simple, but something in going with where it's going to be at. South 8th Street, that's, you know, we have Old Town Market down there. Cypress and I, we have or Walnut and I, we have Anderson Recreation Center. So that's just my thoughts as a resident, to bring the city's history in line with the crosswalks. Thank you.
Anyone else want to add a thought to this? Going? Gone. Okay, back to council. Any other questions at this time? Who would like to make a motion?
I will. Okay. I'll move the recommendation from the department.
Okay.
How do you want to do it?
I'll second it.
And I'd maybe add one thing to it. How about, just so it's a little more fun, how about if we had a letter that everybody signed?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah, everybody can sign it, you know, or electronically. You can forge my name to it.
Just put our name on it.
Yeah. That'd be fun. When's it due? Okay. I think the only one's going to be gone is Mace or Dwayne, but there's electronic signatures for all of us. So everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Maker of the motion? Second of the motion?
I didn't know I had an electronic signature on file. Thanks.
You don't. You're going to have to be live. Yeah. Haven't you noticed that you don't get paychecks anymore? We just sign the back of them and cash them.
I'm starting to put a lot of things together.
Okay. Any other discussion? Could we vote, please? And that passes 4-0, and one who is recused, but would have voted yes. Okay, now we come to item number 5, new business. The Valley High Associates LP request to waive and reduce mitigation fees and a subordination request. Welcome back. You've been gone too long, Christy.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, city staff, and the public. I'm Christy Alarcon, Community Development Program Manager. I'm presenting, a report regarding Valley High Associates, their request to waive and reduce mitigation fees and subordination request. A little background on the property. June 26, 2001, the City Council held a TEFRA hearing. TEFRA is the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act. We adopted Resolution 493801, approving issuance of qualified private activity bonds by SCCDA, the statewide California Communities Development Authority, which allowed the purchase and rehabilitation of Valley High Arbor Square Apartments, pictured there, located at 800 North G Street by Pacific American Properties, Inc. The statewide California Communities Development Authority is a joint power authority formed for the purpose of issuing taxable and tax-free private bond activity and other housing bonds. City of Lompoc joined SCCDA in the mid-1980s to allow for the issuance of tax-free bonds for both industrial and housing projects in Lompoc, while shielding Lompoc from any risk associated with the issuance. The 2001 approval resulted in the acquisition and rehabilitation of the 125-unit apartment complex. Rehabilitation included all of the items listed there, including the parking area being resurfaced and a new play area being installed. The regulatory agreement is dated June 26, 2001. It maintains the affordability of the units for 30 years, restricting the rents to very low and low-income households. Valley High Associates agreed to pay an annual mitigation fee until maturity, which is December 15, 2031. The fee mitigates the financial impact to the city, or the loss of the future property tax revenue, or property tax increment that we would have received. The regulatory agreement states further that the agreement shall be recorded as a lien senior to all encumbrances except any taxable and tax-exempt bond financing issued by the CSCDA. The mitigation fee started out as $15,000 and increased $1,000 annually until December 16, 2006, at which point the increase changed to a percentage. It was tied to the percentage of the increase or decrease in the county area median income. So you'll see there over the years it increased except for in 2008 because the area median income decreased that year. In 2011, it was brought to staff's attention that there had been a change in management of the property, and that was due to lack of response to requests for payment of the mitigation fee. In 2012, staff was informed of change of note holder. In 2014, staff spoke with the new asset management company who informed staff that they would be requesting a deferment of the fee until 2015 or until they could refinance the property. And then on June 22nd, 2014, staff received a written request for waiver of mitigation fees and reduction of future fees by 50%. The table on the slide above is the fees that have been waived. So that was 2009 and 2010. And then the current fees that are being considered for waiver or being requested to be waived at this time. And that's 2011, 12, and 13. And I just want to correct that their 2014 fee was not being requested to be waived. It has not been calculated yet since it's not due until December 15, 2014. The total outstanding fees is $55,382.48. The Valley High lacked the cash flow ability to pay the required mitigation fee in 2011 and 2013. If you look to the far right column, I included the cash flow of the project, so you would see how they would or would not be able to pay the fee. There appears to be sufficient cash flow in 2012 to pay both the 2012 and 2013 fees, totaling $36,896.78. Mitigation fee is an agreed upon annual fee, not a residual receipts payment. The regulatory agreement does not allow for a waiver of fees, nor does it contain a procedure to request waiver of fees. But as with any agreement, while there is no specific clause related to the fee waiver, either party can attempt to negotiate terms of the agreement or renegotiate certain areas of the agreement. I just want to point out that we are under no obligation per the regulatory agreement to analyze their cash flow to determine whether they're able to pay this fee or not. The other component of this request is a request for subordination of the regulatory agreement. The subordination will allow Valley High to obtain a Fannie Mae loan in the amount of $6,050,000. Upon refinance of the bond principal, interest, and fees, a balance of approximately $680,000 is proposed to be used for the critical need plumbing repairs on the property. Refinance will reduce the amount of debt service on the project. It will allow improved cash flow of the project. It will allow for cash flow to be directed to some deferred maintenance on that project. It will not place the regulatory agreement in any riskier position than it is currently under. It will not affect the priority position of the affordability covenants applicable to the property. And I just want to add that the City of Lompoc has no money in on this project. This is strictly the regulatory agreement. So Valley High has received a waiver of past fees, 2009 and 2010, totaling $37,099.43. They are currently past due, $55,382.48. Mitigation fees offset the loss of property tax increment that would have otherwise been received by the successor housing agency and utilized for the cost associated with monitoring and servicing affordable housing in Lompoc. The negotiation of such fee in 2001 provided security of revenue to the successor housing agency. The subordination will have no fiscal impact to the successor housing agency. Staff recommends successor housing agency or city council deny Valley High Associates' request to waive the 2011, 12, and 13 mitigation fees and reduce future mitigation fees, approve Valley High subordination requests with the following condition: that payment of past due mitigation fees totaling the $55,382.48 is done through the close of escrow, and authorize the city administrator to sign the necessary documents or provide alternate direction. Thank you.
Councilmember Costa?
Thank you, Mayor Lynn. I have two questions. The first is, was there any explanation given as to why the cash flow in 2012 was so much higher than in the other years?
No, there wasn't anything noted on the cash flow analysis that they provided.
And my assumption is this is an audited agency?
Yes.
And are they current on their audits? And do
Yes.
we review those audits? Yeah.
We don't request their audits because they are not a sub-recipient, so they don't fall under our monitoring, our new monitoring policy. But we did request audited financial statements in order to conduct this analysis.
And so the idea is when we have a low-income housing provider, they're off the tax rolls partially because they're providing low-income housing. This one isn't providing any low-income housing.
They are.
They are, but does it meet the guidelines? Yes. So, but what
they are off the tax rolls, and so in order to mitigate that loss to the redevelopment agency at that point.
Right, that's why we're getting them to repay.
Correct.
I get that, but why do they have to repay what we're losing when other projects don't?
That was a negotiation that happened in 2001.
So that's like, I guess that's sort of, are they the only project that's doing that?
I believe it's because of the request for the city of Lompoc to hold the TEFRA hearing and basically endorse the project.
That was the negotiated amount. And so, I mean, understanding, that they're past due and that they agreed to pay this, and I get, holding people to their agreement, but what is the argument behind not waiving some of this?
They are able to pay, and we've waived $36,000 so far. I don't think that this city's in a position fiscally to, allow the waiver. From just my analysis, I couldn't recommend waiving the fee.
So the idea is that there was adequate cash flow in 2012 to cover 2012 and 2013.
Right. So the way I looked at it is if they had come to us in 2011 and actually request a fee waiver in 2011, provided their cash flow, which, by the way, we do not have to analyze their cash flow. This is not a residual receipts loan. Mm-hmm. There is nothing in the regulatory agreement that states they have any option to request a fee waiver based on their cash flow. This is a payment they agreed upon. So if in 2011 they had come forward and it came to City Council in 2011, you probably would have recommended to go ahead and waive the fee because they were showing a negative cash flow. Mm-hmm. But in 2012, when they came back again requesting a fee waiver, I would, as staff, not have recommended a fee waiver showing a positive cash flow sufficient to pay this. Mm-hmm. And then at this point, they are getting $600,000 out of the close of escrow of the refinance. I think they can pay us out of that.
So the idea is that the refinance, has that happened yet?
No, we are holding that up because of the subordination request. Right. That is why I recommended subordinating, but with that caveat is saying pay us.
Do they still have the fee waiver request on the books? Like, have they agreed to this, saying that they would be receiving a $600,000 to then repay that $55,000 past due, or are they still trying to get the fee waiver?
This is their request that as you see it before you.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
They want a fee waiver and a 50% reduction from this point forward.
And we definitely feel like, staff's recommendation is to not provide either.
Correct. We're, by allowing the subordination, we're allowing for cash out, as well as allowing for them to have better cash flow in order to meet their debt service requirements to us.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I see that. I'm curious if they had, was there recently upgrades to that facility?
They've had a new partnership with this limited partnership and changes, so they have been trying to make improvements there. This will allow for it. There was a lot of deferred maintenance. Back in 2009 and 10, they had a high vacancy rate. In looking back at the file. So mm-hmm. I think that they really are trying, but that was quite some time ago. All these improvements were done in 2001, and it looks like they barely started doing that again.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Lingle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Christy, it was interesting that this came to us tonight for approval, and I had sent you an email on this earlier, mm-hmm. asking, well, why didn't it come before the council in 2010 10 and 11 when fees were waived, and why did it not come to us in 11 and 12 when they were behind? And you gave me a very good explanation for that, and I just wonder if you'd repeat that for the public and the rest of the council.
Sure. What I had stated was the reason it wasn't brought to council's attention in, at any point in time, I believe, is because this was a redevelopment mitigation fee, so it was revenue received to the redevelopment agency. So that would have been reported out in, to the redevelopment board in the annual report that goes to the state and is required of redevelopment agencies. At the point of dissolution of the redevelopment agency, there really was no mechanism for reporting this to you as far as, or for you to see that that fee wasn't being received unless you were aware of it in the beginning and you saw it in the budget that it's missing. So this will now be included since it's part of the regulatory agreement on this property. Even though the monitoring policy doesn't apply to this project because they are not a subrecipient of funds, they will still be incorporated into the monitoring report because of the affordability and the regulatory agreement. So you will see this reported out in the monitoring report to council.
Thank you. And then one last question, or just an explanation. In the request for subordination regulatory, the last sentence it says, and you covered this, the subordination will not place a regulatory agreement in any riskier position than it is right now. What risks are we currently in?
Right now, per the requesting agent, they are at risk of default on the current debt because the debt service is so high. So we are in the same situation now. If they were to default on the debt that is in front of us, which will be in front of us still, our regulatory agreement would no longer be enforceable, if I'm correct. The city attorney may want to chime in.
That's correct. The original regulatory agreement was subordinate to the current financing, or the financing they're trying to refinance. So because of that subordination, as Ms. Alarcon said, if that existing deed of trust was foreclosed on, our regulatory agreement would be wiped out. We're going to be in the same position.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Starbuck.
Yeah, I was just going to make a couple of statements. It's not questions, but I tell you, a mitigation fee is far less than property taxes are. I would much rather pay a mitigation fee than property tax. So I really have no sympathy towards this. This also is a project that competes with landlords that are paying property tax. It's an unfair advantage in a certain sense other than the type of covenant for the housing and affordability that needs to be there. And I don't want any of us to kid ourselves. This is a business for these people. It's a business with the city. So I think that waiver, I'm going to go with staff recommendations, I think.
I'm happy to see, being in the towing industry for a long time, had a lot of issues at that complex with prior management. We responded, I don't know how many times to incidents there, and the new management company seems to have resolved that. Interesting to ask the police chief what their experience is, but I would say that probably their call volume is down too, which is a savings to all of us. Okay, open this to oral communication. Who would like to talk to us about this one?
Honorable Mayor, City Council, I would probably, Nicholas Gonzalez, resident of Lompoc, I would recommend that you do the subordination. You might end up with another mess. If they're trying to restructure financing, even though they're taking money out, it'll allow them to have a better debt service. Better debt service gets them more cash flow to do the things that are necessary. I do have a question, though. I've read RDA reports in detail, and I'd like to know who was the governing body or the governing person that waived the previous mitigation fees in 209 and 210, if that could be addressed tonight.
City administrator at that time.
City administrator. Okay. And I would, I mean, if that was part of it. May or may not help, but definitely subordinate. The other call is got to be on you. Thanks.
Thanks. Christy, you know what their, brings up an interesting question. Do you know what their debt service saving is going to be?
It's dependent on the, the lock-in interest rate. They need to get the subordination through in order to calculate what the debt service is going to be. And the other component in there is the current partnership fee. They're also working on reducing that. But in just the, I believe it was a 0.5% ratio, so there is a little bit of flex room there.
So they're going to have a 0.5% interest savings or greater than?
No, a half ratio. So going from, I believe they're going from about a 2.5 to a 2 debt ratio. I don't quote me on that.
So it is a substantial improvement.
It is.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak to us on this subject?
Sorry. I have
Yeah, I mean, just going once, going twice, gone. Okay, back to the council. Councilmember Costa.
I just had a quick question about the timing. The payment of the mitigation fees, the staff report says through the close of escrow. So what's the exact timing on that? Does it have to be paid before the close of escrow, or can it be paid as a result of the close of escrow?
It would be through the close of escrow, so it would be written into the escrow instructions that when checks are cut to not only the existing debt, we should get a check for our mitigation fee as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Not accept a motion on this item.
I'd like to move staff recommendation.
Okay, and a second.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, could we vote, please? That passes 5-0. Thank you. City Clerk, do we have written communications?
Nothing.
Oral communications, last chance. 2 minutes to talk to us on any subject. Anybody want 2 minutes worth? A lot of people are standing up, but they're all going out the door. So seeing none, we'll close that and come back to the council for requests, comments, and meeting reports. Councilmember Homdahl.
Just a couple of things, not too much on meetings. One, as I told you earlier, I'm going to be gone judging wine up in Sonoma County that week. I was asked, and so I go up and look at that. What I'd like to bring up tonight is that because of the earthquake in Napa, is where we stand in downtown Lompoc in our unreinforced masonry buildings that were looked at. We got a report that was done back in November 2011, and that we may want to start looking at those buildings, or at least send them a notice of where they stand and where they've done on the recommendation that was sent out by council at that time. There are several buildings that need to be brought up to scale. There's some real major problems down there. I think they should be notified now, because if you looked at what's happened in Napa and up in that area, downtown Napa had it, and they've had a lot of houses, buildings gone. About 100 of them are unlivable right now, buildings that you can have people in Napa. And Lompoc can have a 6 point at any time. We've had them in the past, and we can have more. Mainly the wine industry. There's an excellent article in the Lompoc Record talking about the barrels and the quarter-ton of wine that was lost. It may be something, I know I talked to some wineries, and they say, well, the cost of, it's one of the things they guess is how high they should put their barrels and what kind of lotches they may have on it. But it may be not a bad idea if we want to notice them, just to make sure that you have some figures going on what you're going to do if we have an earthquake, because now we have 37 wineries in town, and it could be, at least that's what they keep telling me, and growing faster. But I think what happened in Napa could happen in Lompoc, and we may need just the idea to be one step ahead instead of waiting until the last.
Thank you. Councilmember Costa? Okay, Councilmember Lingle?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over the past 2 weeks, I've attended chamber luncheons, ribbon cutting ceremonies, AYSO opening day, town hall meeting on hunger, visit Lompoc meeting. All of those were at no expense to the city. I did attend one meeting up in Roseville near Sacramento for NCPA, and the city did cover my mileage and one night stay at a hotel.
Councilmember Starbuck?
I've got no reports.
I got one, just saying,
Go ahead.
I'm leaving tomorrow for Los Angeles, going to the League of California Cities meeting, back Friday.
And I will also be attending that. I attended some of the same events as Councilmember Lingle, the Chamber Luncheon, which was a discussion of Measure P. It was the pro discussion, or the no discussion. The next Chamber Luncheon will be the yes discussion. I think AYSO, we have 1,200, a little over 1,200 kids in the program, and then I also attended the Lompoc Youth Football opener, and they have a whole bunch of enthusiastic kids. I think they were yelling and cheering the whole time for 2 hours, so that was great to see. We attended the last meeting of the Assistant City Administrator, and I attended the last meeting of the P4 process out on Vandenberg Air Force Base. And now it'll move to a quarterly process where we're going to begin looking at some other alternatives to try to form cooperative agreements with the Air Force that would save them money and save us money, or provide increased benefits for either Air Force folks or city folks, or hopefully both. And then today was, and Councilmember Lingle was there, the meeting with the Lompoc Hotel Association, LTID, to talk with their consultant and have some brainstorming on how they're going to market the city of Lompoc. They had some outstanding ideas. The team that they selected is really good, and we look for some things. They have a very fast paced going forward. They anticipate having the basic things back to the LTID group by the end of the month, and final decisions and advertising beginning to take place in November. So they're really going for it. It's really great. Good to see those things. Met with some other folks on various business opportunities, and things are going well in Lompoc. We're having a lot of positive contact from businesses interested in our community. Anything else anyone has to add? Nope. Okay, so we will therefore be adjourned to the regular meeting at 7 p.m. I had that. Yep. You can come on down. We'll give you a second bite. No problem. Okay, we're just going to penalize you 5 seconds because it's your first foul.
Okay. One thing I forgot to mention earlier, and I should have, about the Lompoc cleanup, is that 2 business people in town that are involved in this have offered to supply the bags and the gloves and some of the tools. People have offered their pickup trucks to come around and pick up at the lots while we're doing that. And certainly we invite any of our businesses or community, anybody that wants to help with this. We would be happy to have the help. There's going to be some expense involved. So the other thing I want to talk about is our water and wastewater bill increases. A year ago, when that came to City Council about the 5-year plan for the increase every year, we got a presentation and how much was going to be set for each of those 5 years. It went into effect for the first year, and it was approved, so it automatically went into effect for the second year. I think people were surprised by their bills. But one thing that I would like to know, and I think it's owed to this community, and if you think the swap meet people were angry, you want to see how angry they are about their water bills and their wastewater bills. But I think you owe it to the community to come back and say where we stand. How did we do once the books are closed? And that was the intent last year, and Brad said that that'd be coming back after the books were closed, so I would hope that we'll come back with an explanation of where we stand after the first year, and if that looks like it's going to hold up for those increases, or if it's not going to hold up for those increases. You look around town and you see burn-up lawns everywhere. I know you set money aside for, cutbacks, but wow. I think you owe, I think you need to be transparent on this, and it hasn't been, so please.
Pam, would you like to mention the 2 businesses that are volunteering the bags and gloves?
Well, they really didn't want to mention, but yeah, it was Brent Hamner and Scott Fox, who have businesses, and we are not a nonprofit So it's not a tax write-off, and they're not writing it off. They're doing it because they care about the community, and Brent's supplying the bags and gloves for the first one, boxes of bags. So, and Scott's, and, okay, I'll give you a plug. He's volunteering his truck too to come around and pick up. Thank you, Frank.
So I think what Bob was trying to get you to do is give the businesses a plug. So name the business.
Well, I don't know their names of their businesses.
Oh, okay. Well, next week, in 2 weeks, you can come back and name them.
What's he call himself? Fox, I don't know. Scott Fox is his name.
All right.
Yes, and, I'd be happy to, and certainly we need to let people know those businesses that are supporting us, the people that are supporting us, the city when you support us, chamber, and give the recognition where it's due. But it is a community effort. It is not a city effort. It is not a chamber effort. It's a community effort. And I just want to keep that clear. So, thank you.
Ms. Law, I just wanted to say that I'm on the Facebook group, and I do think it's a great resource. But in the thought process that I've had, it would probably be good to just have a brief discussion with the Facebook members about where the public's allowed to be. It's public places, public right-of-way.
Well, yeah, we're going to have a meeting on that, so
Yeah, 'cause
we'll be
private
talking about that. I
property is
did talk to the city, because I do highway cleanup, and I know Caltrans has very specific guidelines and safety equipment stuff that they provide you with. And the city doesn't really have a policy on it. It's just, stay to the sidewalks and stay safe. But yeah, everybody got so excited and it just took off like fire, and everybody was so energized. We kind of got ahead of ourselves. So we need to make sure that, that we do what we need to do to move this forward. And a lot of suggestions, and some of those can be implemented as we go along to keep the excitement there. But we need to get the basics down for sure.
Definitely.
So,
Thank you.
yeah. Any other questions about that?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Okay, so the Lompoc City Council will adjourn to a regular
Mayor,
meeting.
sorry, are we getting a report about that utility increase? Did we already talk about that?
Yes, Brad will bring that to us when he has some numbers.
Is that a planned staff report?
I don't know if maybe a presentation.
A presentation?
Ask the city administrator. City administrator, which direction are you going with that?
I believe what Mr. Wilkie had covered when we were doing our mid-year review, our comprehensive review, was that we were going to be back in once the fiscal year was complete and do our normal report on that. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. And as mentioned in the CAPER report, the financial statements won't be done until the end of December. So
Okay.
we're looking at that time frame for the review.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else before I try to say this sentence the last time? Anybody? Last chance. All right. The Lompoc City Council will adjourn to a regular meeting at 7:00 p.m. on Tuesday, September 16th, 2014. Thank you and good night. Got it out.